We're at 7:02, so we'll give them 30 seconds, see if they go up and running, and then if not, we'll just fire it up. Because nobody's coming in for the first two,
No.
as far as you know.
Is Maria ready? No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. First two, and then Fred remembers, I did talk to him.
I'll be holding you both back.
It's like all day, Liz.
Should have gotten live.
I know, right?
Breathe.
It'll come to you as soon as we start.
I know, it will.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of emails that
Oh, just sort of an FYI.
Yes.
We saw it.
Related to
There's
a
nothing we
meeting.
can say or do about it, but just the utilities, National Grid, they're spraying herbicides along the power line rights of way. Just
Yeah.
FYI, that's some of the mail that we got.
If I remember correctly, that's, yeah,
Is
that's
that
the
gas
condition
line
on
or
it.
just overhead stuff?
It's electric overhead. Pipelines are in
Yes. And that's another one where they basically just need to inform us, right? Like, they
Yep,
can't have the right to
you don't even
do.
have to tell us, they have to tell someone from the town, so it can be the
Town
selectman.
clerk, it's like, yeah,
Any-
yeah. That they're doing,
And they
yeah.
don't even technically have to do that, I found out recently, it's just they courteously do that, because it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
That's probably
native people were fighting for their pipeline, I just kept thinking about how we wrote letters, and like, I was thinking, and they're out there getting sprayed
And
and
it's cold, it's
beaten,
snowing,
and-
yeah, you're in a
and
town.
we were just, so gently
Please don't
moving
do
it
this. Please
in
don't do this.
our nice town, how lucky
Oh, let's just hope it
we
doesn't
are,
come back.
and they're, they changed it, I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I don't even know.
change their minds, but I was
Yeah.
feeling for those people.
I was too.
Do they specify what they're putting out for chemicals? No, is it just generalized?
And the veterans got out there, and,
That was us, the Army Corps of Engineers.
yeah.
The treatments are foliar and basil treatment.
No, Agent Orange, so.
Yeah.
They throw a number, they actually tell you what they're putting down. It's,
Yeah, keep the kids out of the way. Just
Roundup.
Right, right,
It's
yeah.
probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's almost as nasty.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to go through. But Don did fill me in and tell me that the trails weren't being sprayed this year apparently, and he thought it, and that's what brought up, because I was showing him that.
Did I come to the commission? We talked about that about a month ago, 2 months ago.
DEP doesn't spray the trails, although they do some of the parking lots. While the pond comes to mind.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and Welsh Pond, because they're right.
And I
They're right
think,
there off the road.
Five Shire, not so much the parking lot, that old little cutout area, I believe they used to do that too. It came up because the selectmen were questioning whether we should be giving them the right to use Roundup, basically. Then the answer was basically, it's just a tool in the toolbox. It's kept that they have to ask us if they want to use it, but if they need to use it and we give them permission, they can use it. It's kind of how it's always been done. We should probably start, right? Okay, so in case DATV is not on, I'd like to make a motion, we officially, I don't need to make a motion. I'm going to officially open the December 8th, 2016 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission, and we will start with a roll call. I'm Brian Barabee.
Liz Lucluse?
Jeff Lawrence.
Karen Hill.
Jeff Bryan.
Rebecca Waterfall.
Okay. We're all here. First up, if you are ready.
Okay.
Christopher
So
City?
50 Meadow Road. So, this is just basically when I was on the site visit. Right? No. Okay. Excuse me.
Sorry.
This is.
Okay. Okay.
This is the request that comes with it.
Perfect. So the Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue a public meeting under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233, today, December 8, 2016, here in Town Hall to consider a request for a certificate of compliance filed by care of James Child for the two replaced 12-inch culvert with an 18-inch culvert at 50 Meadow Road within 100 feet of the bordering vegetated wetlands. And Rebecca, did you have a chance, did somebody have a chance to go out and take a look?
Yes, I went out and spoke with Paul, and that's basically what that little write-up said. He has taken over the project by vote of other residents on the common drive because the original person in charge of the project decided not to complete it for whatever reason, so he took it on financially and finalized it. Although erosion control is up still and in proper placement, there doesn't seem to be any sediment runoff in places it shouldn't be, if at all. And then the riprap that was required was installed on the proper sides, and everything's to what it says in the order of conditions. And I think Greg from Duchamp and Dillis went out on the property as well, and they're the ones who are representing for the certificate of compliance, and he as well said it was done in compliance.
This is the project Harold had some questions about the first culvert that went in. Those have been resolved, I would assume.
Yes. And then there was and Jackie had even been out prior to me going out to double check, but there is a down tree that was cut. It seems to be a mystery who cut the tree. Utilities, though, assumed. They thought it was DPW, but it's not, as confirmed by Harold. And the homeowner was simply just paying for it to be removed because it was sort of cut and then thrown into nearby area. And he was concerned that it would affect this, but it doesn't. And after talking to Kathy and Jackie, they said it would even be fine just to leave it because it's not affecting any of the drainage.
Okay.
But it is removed, so.
Okay.
Yep.
It sounds like you are recommending that we issue the order of compliance, the certificate of compliance.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions, concerns? All right, then, in that case, I make a motion that make a motion to close the public hearing for 50 Meadow Road. All those in favor? Aye. Make a motion that we issue a certificate of compliance for James Child of 50 Meadow Road.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Okay, yeah, sorry, there was
So-
another part to the next one, not a big deal. So we're doing
Oh, the home part one?
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have the certificate of compliance?
Yes, right, this is the request of the CSC, this was no, it was catchy, I had the page here on here, wasn't it? Yes.
Yep, so, there you go.
All right, that goes to you, we sign this?
Yep.
These people are paid for by the homeowner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, exciting news over sign which Jeff is going to the selectmen's meeting.
Are you? You can.
So we're going on board with
Sent you a
that.
letter?
I sent it a letter.
That's good.
Full member. Full member?
Whatever.
They don't reject you.
Yes.
Huh?
As long as they don't reject you. You don't get any
More,
points.
I'm reading.
Throw anything in from there.
No, I don't know. I'm visible right on the road, right on 17, so I know the neighbor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
He
yeah.
had a sign.
Yeah, yeah, Jonathan, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is another.
Yep. I can just use this one, just change the names.
Yep.
Perfect. Not at all. Okay, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue a public meeting under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233, today, December 8th, here in Town Hall, to consider a request for a certificate of compliance for Lot 5, Bolton Farm Lane, a single-family home, including lawn, post fence, stone wall, and basins.
So again, I was out on the property with Colton Farm.
Yep.
These are just the pictures of the property that I took while I was out there, just showing that it is stabilized, these, following the conditions. And then the back boulders, these are things in the backyard. But the back boulders are still in place. As they're walking around, everything seems good. Also, unrelated to this specific lot, but on the Houghton Farms, there was some large debris, I'll call it, in the form of pallets and a wooden spool under the culvert. So I went and pulled it out of there. Maybe someone was living down there, I don't know, but I told Peter, who's been in charge of this, just to be aware of that and make sure if it is something that's falling off the bridge and just flowing under there, to be careful, but also someone maybe really
Yeah.
pretty big.
Big enough to live in?
Yeah, strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was low, water low.
Actually lives there?
Well,
Gets you out of the elements to an extent,
Yeah.
right? No rain.
Or kids just hanging out, maybe.
Yeah, that could be,
and
it's
that's the
hanging
other
out,
thing too,
yeah.
it might be a fort or something.
Yeah.
Which I felt kind of bad. And all the erosion control was still up, showing the limit of work, and so there were the hay bales, the silt fence.
And this is the as-built
Yes.
requested, right?
This is the as-built, there is a explanation by Duchamp Dilch, I think right there, just a
Yeah.
statement
The one
from
page.
them. So they are requesting a certificate of compliance, but also in the event that they are approved, and given that, they would like the release of the other portion of the bond. So one portion was lot 4, which has already previously been released under Carroll.
Gotcha.
And so this would hopefully be released as well, because it is, if it's found in compliance, which I believe it is due from Phyllis, but.
Was there any of that, for plantings, any of that's for the 2 year?
So the wetland restoration, is that what
Yeah,
you mean?
yes.
That is a completely separate bond.
Gotcha.
That that's a separate account.
Yeah.
Because I spoke to Minaj about that. They are looking to release that, but I said I hadn't been out to look at that specifically, so I'd like either the entire commission or at least myself to get out there, because I wasn't looking for that when I was there. I was looking for it specific to this property. So I didn't think it'd be fair to assume that.
Yeah. But the bond they were looking for is just in reference to this
Yes.
this process, this
For
part of
lot
it
5.
for lot 5.
Mhm.
And everything has been completed from that? as far
From the
as we
order
can
of
tell?
conditions.
Yes.
Yep, I brought it with me when I was out there on a site visit, walked around.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's see if I know it. Before I move to close it, any other questions? Thoughts, concerns? All right. In that case, I would like to make a motion to close the public hearing for Lot 5, Houghton Farm Lane.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, so closed. I'd like to make a motion that we issue the certificate of compliance as drafted for Lot 5, Houghton Farm Lane.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Now, it would be a separate motion to release the bond, right?
Yep.
And did everybody catch that? Remember when we used to take bonds, they had it for each lot, for different parts of the project. And this is the bond specifically for everything that was covered into the COC. So unless he has good reason or fear why we shouldn't, probably make a motion to release that as well, right?
If we're releasing these, if we're issuing, just
It seemed to make sense and,
Right.
all right.
Is that just, is the COC somehow tied to the landowner? And has the house been sold, or is the COC just specific to the developer?
So the COC is specific,
Meaning, and the only reason I ask is if there's stipulations in the way that it's written as far as how the land can be used.
so the order of conditions includes that any sort of transferal of ownership will be under the same expected, I forget exactly how it is, I can find it if you want, but
Well,
basically
that's okay.
it says that it transfers over and you're expected to have the same responsibility
Responsibilities
over the resources.
To adhere to the,
Yeah.
okay.
And if there is any work, of course, it needs to be filed and approved. But it is in the order because first I was looking if it was the owner or if it was the owner of the subdivision who is the applicant. And then after finding it was a subdivision, I had the same sort of thought. And that's why, as I was reading through the order of conditions, it stood out. And I was like, okay.
Okay.
Um,
I would just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right, if he
That's
said it's
written
built,
in-
it's not sold, so you're
Yeah.
assuming that there's no additional work or improvements that'll happen on that site between now and when it is sold and moved
Right.
into. So you're releasing the bond under that assumption. Mhm. Yeah.
Good. All right. Okay, so we'll make a motion that we release the bond for Lot 5, Croton Farm Lane, and that the certificate of compliance has been issued. All those in favor?
Mhm.
Aye. Counts.
Mm.
Did I
That's
steal
good
yours?
questions, but a bond is actually money in hands. So there's, in
Yes.
escrow, $10,000 somewhere.
Thank- Definitely. Yeah, we used to have for all projects in town, and then about a year ago, we did away for individual homeowners. We used to have a bond on everything.
So once it's in compliance, then
They would get it back, right, it's not an escrow, but it was a 2 times or 3 times depending bond. And it just kind of became cost prohibitive, people would do it, it was very difficult for them to do, but if they don't close out their order of conditions, they can't technically sell the house. Or again, it goes with it, so we kind of always had that over them, that if you don't do what you say you're gonna do, eventually it's going to hurt
it'll
you.
come back to you.
So rather than putting up all the extra money now, we hold that over your head, good. And I don't think you run into too many problems with that. We had to review,
Yeah.
because it was like a 1-year thing that we were gonna review, but.
There's fees, right? We could build some fees into it.
Yeah,
Penalties that don't-
yeah, there are penalties and fees that we could write in as well, so there were other ways to cover ourselves. All right, I don't think Fred's here.
Is that door unlocked?
The upstairs one?
Not this one.
This one?
Oh, it's a good tip, yeah.
I got it. There's a key.
I was just thinking of that.
Yeah,
Someone
there's-
out there.
Excellent, there are 3 people waiting.
I know, the other door
Cold
is
out there.
well, is Jeff gonna go upstairs? Jeff, you gonna check the other door?
They would know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like they'd come back and knock on the window.
I think most people know that there's another door, well, these two know, but.
As I say, everybody here has been here before.
Oh, also just in the housekeeping,
Yes.
sorry. I sort of run it by Jeff because I wasn't sure if it had been done already or not. So on Fifeshire, the property, this is actually Quadaquatic Pond, which I found out as well. I didn't know there was a name. And the Friends of Fifeshire are working on naming the Cutler Pond. But so this portion, about here to, I think it's over here, no, it's this lot. So there's a section here where it ends and it's private, so you can't go across there. So I just wanted to see if it was okay with the commission, if we sent out letters just saying, you know, there's a trail on the property, we'd like to talk to you about an informal easement to just get them involved and maybe complete that loop.
The full loop.
Yeah. But that's basically, it just says, you know, when you were approached in the past and for whatever reason you didn't want to have it, I think it was, I talked to Rona and she said it was because there were small children, now small children are my age. So that's where it left off, and so they said, okay, we understand. Now, years later, I think it might be smart to reapproach them, because myself going out on the property, working on the dam, fixing a couple other things, I was honestly up on their property, higher up, until I even turned around and walked back and said, okay, there's no trespassing sign. But
It would be a big win to close the loop all the way around that pond. Yeah. Because right now it's just two dead ends.
Yeah,
And
right.
they don't-
And you don't expect it either to, you
People
walk
don't
out.
use them.
Okay.
Yeah. People don't use them because they don't go anywhere.
So he needs an easement.
right, but
Yeah.
even just,
An agreement.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't think it could hurt to approach him. You said it's been a number of years, right? It's
But
been
I
excited.
just wanted to run it by the commission.
No, I
before
think it's a great
sent out
idea.
letters from the commission that said here, and then you guys say, I have no
Wait a
idea.
minute, that's my house, then.
Right, well, you never know.
Keep our fingers crossed. No, that would be really great.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you spoken to them, Rebecca, though?
Yeah.
Because sometimes
the
if someone
kitchen
gets
table.
sometimes just gets a letter,
The kitchen
Right,
table
so-
works better.
the kitchen
Rona?
table definitely works
I was
better.
just some of the,
She is good, knows the family well, which I didn't know, which was sort of nice to hear. And she said she was the one who had spoken with them the first time about it. She said, by all means, I think they may be interested in it, because that was really the only issue. They're involved with, like, they love the property, they love that it's a conservation area. I forget, I think she said they were involved in another way, whether it's the Friends of Fifeshire or the
Oxbow National Wildlife.
National,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, they,
But she said they're involved in other ways, and they're
Still
very
be
nice
open to
people,
it.
so she thinks they would be, unless for some reason there's an outstanding.
Yeah. Can you, do you have their number? Can you call them?
I can just remember the number.
Yeah.
front makes an introduction
Yeah.
even too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they were happy to, we recently, redoing that dam, I mean, our other option was to kill the pond. And move to, you know,
Yeah.
complete the dam, which I think most of the people at Fifeshire were very happy with, so hopefully, they'll
Yeah.
appreciate that. That would be great. What else do we have to?
No.
And then we, 7:45 is, I should know.
Oh, we have a invoice from, which I believe I sent to everyone,
Yes.
from Jim Henderson. Am I saying this right? Yeah, for the mowing, so I wasn't sure if anyone had any comments about that, or, and I'm still waiting to hear back from the other party that mowed and wasn't documented well. But, yeah,
Yeah,
that
but
will
we,
be clarified soon.
we
I
contacted
guess
Jim.
my question would be to Jeff, since you've been the most involved, does this seem reasonable to you?
Yeah, he's within his estimated range, which we moved forward with. In fact, I think he was lower in both categories, right?
Yeah.
By several $100s. And my big concern was the initial $1,200 high-end estimate for butternut, given the amount of land out there and the
Right.
fact that it's pretty flat, there's nothing really in the way of it. And he came in at 8. And that's what this other person built.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and Jim had logistics costs and all of those other things associated with it, so I think it's fair. And it was necessary,
Yeah, it is, yeah, just to keep maintaining it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, and I think Jim wants to come in and talk to us about his services and some go forward
Saw that
stuff.
as
so,
one of his letter, yeah.
It might be good just to have him in and hear him out and see if there can be a longer term maintenance plan, especially for Powder Springs.
And he knows it, I mean,
He
he's been
does,
there for
yeah,
years now, yeah.
he's very knowledgeable. Yeah, Rebecca knows.
Yeah.
So good.
So, I don't think you have to make a motion, but you'd like, that's an agreeable amount?
Yeah.
And you'd like that to be paid?
Yes.
Okay.
I just didn't sign it.
Yeah, if you want to sign the non-highlighted
Yeah,
one.
I'll do, you sign the non-highlighted, or initial the non-highlighted one. I think we just initial. One of these years. You're bored. Oh, no, you
When
did
I'm
that
bored,
too.
is that what
When
you
you're
said?
bored.
Sure.
I think Carol had a sheet, and it's probably a sheet other departments possibly use, where it just listed what all the expenses they can, like, should bring a letter to, but it just had like the expense, the line it was going to, what it was for.
Oh, okay.
And we could just initial them all.
Sure.
And I don't even know, again, I think you're empowered to do that as long as,
Yeah.
you know, but.
No, I'd rather have everyone agree on it though.
Yeah, and I don't know, you know, and it doesn't, I guess, I wouldn't say it would have to be that way, but you know, whatever
I'd rather
easy
it be that
way you
so
could
we don't have
find.
another random bill.
Yeah, no, it makes life easier too, and then you'll always have a sheet with this, or hope this, initially
Right.
it's signing off.
Yeah, I'll make a copy. Oh, so,
Yeah,
so, some other housekeeping things, the timber harvesting that started last week, 2 weeks ago, prior to our last meeting anyways, they have received a forest cutting plan certificate, so from the DCR, just saying everything was A-okay. And there was a law committee meeting to get everyone on the same page, just information-wise, regarding the enforcement order on Teal Road. And then, so nothing new, it was just simply getting everyone together and talking about it.
Who was there?
It was the law committee, Kathy,
Yeah.
myself,
Myself.
Don, Brian,
And the selectmen, the 3 selectmen.
and the selectmen.
And I think it was partially informational for them to get the selectmen up to speed on what
Yeah.
was going on.
And then the attorney as well.
Yeah,
Two.
yes. The
Yeah.
town, the town council and the other, and
Yes.
there were some next steps. It was kind of a, this is what's going on, you know, kind of getting everybody on board with what's going on, what logically could happen, what the next steps could be, kind of seeing what's going on in Stowe, and then some things, a few small steps for them to follow up on their meeting again next month.
Yep, January 12th.
Yeah, so there were a few things the lawyers were gonna look up, a few things the selectmen wanted to look into. So hopefully we'll be completing that, and then they're meeting again next month to see how to go forward from there, if necessary. Yeah. Talk more at other points.
And then, so, for the Taylor enforcement order, we received the NOI for 22 West Berlin Road. And I know we didn't get a chance to look over prior to this meeting, but would you like to see it? Or would you like to view it at another time and just come in the office? We have,
Can you summarize it?
That's a pretty big map, right?
yes, it's
Yeah.
very large.
Yeah.
It's basically covering everything that they did, and filing for that.
It's NOI.
That's
That's what it is.
And
Do you have the map? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Taylor was on
Is it something you
I
can
would
send or email?
Not really.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if I scan it,
I can see why.
Yeah.
I take it back.
I think I might come stop by the office. Just curious. as to-
also, he had, so they had mailed it to us. Says the filing does not contain the Bolton bylaw forms, as he could not locate them. I have sent them to him. So he has them now, so that should be coming as well, but. I don't know. Yep.
Just cutting down trees.
I know, that's what I feel like.
A lot of trees.
He clear cut an entire stream, like an active flowing stream. They just clear cut it all the way down.
Gas.
No, it was land that was in farming, but it has to be within farming within the last 7 years, I believe. 5 years, and it was farmed like 8 years or 20, I don't even know how long ago. So it all revegetated, and there was a pretty strong flowing stream going right through the area.
They chopped it down.
And they just clear cut it. And the, of course, the property manager, people that were cutting down, just was, wow, we didn't know you couldn't clear cut a stream. So we're moving along in natural heritage, which is the Endangered Species Act. There was also endangered species habitat that they disturbed. And they kind of, at this point, have first crack at the project, if that makes any sense. Natural heritage would kind of give them an order of conditions to bring the property back into compliance, and they kind of supersede us. So the person who's submitting this made the argument, and several rightfully so, that they kind of wanted to get on board with them first before submitting with us. Just because anything they would tell them to do would supersede anything they could do for us. So I'm assuming they've like talked to their
Where was this, from the Bolton line?
West Berlin Road.
Yeah.
West Berlin Road?
Close to Randall Road, right adjacent to the Tabor Conservation property as well.
If you're going up Water, it's a beautiful farm. They have a beautiful view.
Yeah.
You see the farm in the front, or one of the barns in the front. It's a gorgeous piece.
Have we heard from Natural
Up
Heritage?
at the top of the hill, up water.
Well, this
Yeah,
one,
as you're going up.
So they clear cut.
Yeah, now you see West Berlin Road goes to your left.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah,
in the
yeah.
back, you know, yeah, you'd see it. And this is like, the farm's way up here, and West Berlin Road's way up here. And this is the back fields came all the way down, they just basically cut all of this. And
Chop
this-
that all down.
That's a
So-
pretty strong running stream.
this is
Is that out?
all I have from, is the vernal pool certification. And it's on the, I printed out sort of an aerial map after I figured out where the coordinates were. And it's right on the, right over the property line, or right on the property line of 22 West Berlin Road and 82 Old Bay Road. So it doesn't go on the property. Is there question about that?
They're gonna have the findings, right?
Oh,
Sort of what
yes,
The timeline
yes.
is on it. That's not done yet.
These are copies, and these are
Just the list of different.
copies that go with the plan.
Okay, so it says there's a violation of the,
No, I didn't see any findings in that though, Rebecca. It just sounds like they're agreeing that they're
determines whether
by
there's possible alteration. Yeah, it's just requesting a filing.
Give Leo a lot of credit, man. That's a pretty nice looking out. Right?
This is a lot of experience.
Yeah. It's a fine report.
It is.
So, yeah, so if anyone needs a copy or would like to review it in more detail, it's in the office or take one home.
And we can get them on, are they coming in? Did they request?
They
one?
will be,
Okay.
at the next meeting, which is January.
Something else.
January. Do you have that email?
Yeah, I do somewhere. And the funny thing is, I just looked at it.
I want to say it was the first, was it the first Thursday? I think it had to have been, because of, so the 5th.
Here we are, January 5th,
Yeah.
and then this January 19th.
So do you want to just officiate that while we're
You
talking
can
about
do that,
it?
yeah, we have, well, we don't really have to make any motion, right? We just need to agree upon those.
Right, yep.
Yeah. The upcoming dates, good for people? Did we have a chance to look at?
Yay, nay?
Yeah, 5/19, 9/23.
Tuesdays?
Thursday.
Thursdays.
So I think it's almost the second, the first and third of every
Yeah.
month.
First and third Thursdays.
Yep. What?
I'm not sure that works for me.
Okay.
I know you sent the message out. I remember saying that Tuesdays might be better.
Okay.
Um,
Just January 5th work?
I think January 5th works.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
We can at least say that.
yes. I mean, you know, situations, taking classes and.
I gotcha.
Mhm.
I'm still
Howard,
doing that.
Tuesdays for everyone else. Okay.
Tuesdays are generally good for me.
Yeah.
Good for you?
Yep.
Okay, would you just want to shift it to
The Tuesdays,
the Tuesdays of those same weeks? Does that work?
January 17th, and then, and 7/20, yes.
17th, let me take a look. I don't know what being travel itinerary, she's gonna be out of the country that week. Just I have to look at the dates.
Sure.
So we'll hold January 5th, for sure.
Okay, I'll make another list, send
And
it
then
out,
we'll see
and
if,
then.
yeah, because I kind of want to check some of those dates too, but I think usually Tuesdays are better for me in general.
I mean, Tuesdays work for me. Cool.
All right. It doesn't look like Fred's coming in. 7:45, we have Scott. Oh, do people have a chance to look through the minutes from the last meeting? Yeah, any questions, problems, concerns? All right. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes for our November 17th, 2016 meeting as submitted.
Listen.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So approved.
Excellent.
Want to talk about the trail guide? The time you want to talk?
We'll see what happens at the end.
Yeah.
Actually.
I'm just hoping to, yep.
So-
We'll wait.
Yeah.
Yep.
International
Really
Day.
quick though,
Yes.
speaking of trails, so, Jeff had come forward with the idea that we create a volunteer position, for a land steward. And I thought I printed out copies, I might not have, but I can email you all the job description. And it's volunteer based, it's simply bridging the gap, so if so Jeff is on the commission, he's on the Conservation Trust as well, and the Trails Committee, so we have that gap bridged at all times. However, there comes a time when there is no longer that individual who holds that in the commission to have access to the trail maintenance, which is in part of my position after going over with Dawn. However, the extent that someone like Jeff does the work, we'd like to solidify that.
Yeah.
And I'd spoken to Don about it as well, and he thinks it's a great idea. And we'd just like the commission's input, if you have any. And if no input necessary, we're looking to put it as an advertisement or posting in the newspaper for 2 weeks. Have whomever would like to apply. And then there will be, whoever is chosen will go to the next selectmen meeting, which is January 15th, I think.
December 15th.
No, the one after that.
January 15th.
So maybe January 12th, that's what it was, January 12th. And then be voted, not really voted in.
Appointed.
Appointed, thank
There you
you.
go.
So yes, and Dawn went over the list as well as I went over the list to make sure there really wasn't too strong of an overlap in terms of position, and made sure it was very clear on what would be involved in the work for those interested in it, but then also the extent of responsibility of the commission to oversee and work with that person, instead of just have someone on their own doing the work without approval or check-ins. And even though that's assumed, we'd like to have it in writing so it's confirmed.
Yeah, and I had a great conversation with Don about it today, right? It is all good, it's all positive. And ultimately, down the road, when I'm doing something else, you know, it gives you the ability to fill
We
the
need
role,
this. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because it's now defined.
Yeah.
How many hours?
This year?
Because I don't think I see that on
I don't know, this year was hundreds,
here. I know.
you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just,
So you're
Yeah.
saying it'd be good to define like a minimum expected hours?
Yeah, and could this, and you'll get advertised in the town, but could this be an internship?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's a volunteer position, so I don't see why not, but if it is an internship, the individual would have to keep that 2-year term
Yeah.
still.
I mean, I can imagine an environmental student or, you know, somebody, there's lots of local colleges, somebody could get some credit for it. You know,
That's great for a resume too.
yeah, and somebody, I don't know if someone in town, we'll see, if somebody in town sort of gravitates to it, but having an intern that's also bringing in some of those skills. It's you?
Well, we hope.
Well,
You
it's
know,
open to the appointed official.
it will be open. Of course.
Okay.
there's a lot of work on it.
As I say, those are, it kind of codifies those, those are a lot of things that Jeff's been doing for us. or
I
part of
understand
the-
what you're saying now. Got
So,
it.
yeah, it kind
I
of puts
missed a
the
step
more
there.
like, we will need somebody to
Right.
hopefully
But,
go
no,
forward.
But
even still, if there were,
It is, no,
Yeah,
if there
would
were
be-
2 people doing this, right, let's just imagine, right, like you could actually train somebody, you know.
and create an
That's
associate, just create like an associate land steward position.
Yeah, somebody who could
And
tag
almost
along with
like-
you.
Think about almost like working with Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and actual
Right.
projects. You could bring
An
people
intern or
into,
something,
people
and it
into-
could be a short, yeah, too. That makes sense.
Because then you have the sort of a continuous sort of,
yeah.
and then that
Right,
person
and
would
then
want
the
to be a
latest-
commissioner, maybe if they live in
Right.
town.
Yeah.
That's lucky.
They are in school studying this, and it's sort of like, it's our access to latest greatest thinking and best
Absolutely.
practices.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
it. That's why we talk about it.
So I don't know that we need to vote on it, or would we need to vote on it?
Nope, we don't
right?
need to
It's
vote
just
on it,
something, as long
even,
as we're in agreement, which
right,
net positive in general,
even like
move forward.
Dawn was saying, the selectmen don't necessarily have to vote on it, they just have to do the appointing,
Yeah.
so.
Are there other examples, some of the other towns?
Stowe.
Well, Stowe.
Yeah.
So-
That's where they.
That's where they have, yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen.
Yeah.
Lincoln, it's probably another town.
And theirs is a paid position, 100.
Right.
It's not about that, it's about,
Mhm.
let's define it.
Actually, having what it is, yeah. So, yeah, I see no reason not to move forward and get it posted.
Okay.
So it's fair.
That was.
That was Jeff's copy, but I think you can keep that one, right?
So that was-
It's a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of stuff, yeah.
I do it for the trust as well.
Okay, so, all right, not to be too picky, pre-qualifications must know Wetland Protection Act.
Yep.
How many people don't know that?
No, but I
Should it
think
say
it's
or willing to
volunteering.
learn? No,
Yes.
Or, yeah, I should probably say willing to
No, I
learn?
think it says working knowledge.
Yeah.
So the point of that,
Even that.
the point of that is so that if they're out there and they're cutting or they're building,
Yeah.
right, that they're sensitive to habitats and buffers and where to place material, stack material, like that type of stuff. I think that's an
Right.
important element of working responsibly in the woods.
Right, and I think that's more of sort of a common sense understanding
Mhm.
of the Wetland Protection Act.
Right.
And I mean, I can always make copies and supply it to them as well, and strongly encourage that they learn it as they go,
Mhm.
if they don't already have that under their belt. Because certainly it is a lot to take in
Mhm.
at times, but like I said, I think a working knowledge is sort of common sense, or knowing as you're working or learn as you're working, exactly what Jeff said.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Research
I just
areas.
would not want to discourage people, because once you put something like that, people will say, oh, this sounds great, and then they'll see that and go, oh, well,
Yeah, give it some thought.
So maybe
I know,
some
we
rewording.
We want the ability for the commission, you know, to interface with this person too, and if you have questions around things that are important to the commission, then you want them to be knowledgeable enough to answer.
I understand that.
Mhm.
Comments, questions?
This is great. So-
Yeah.
It's cool that the associate intern type of idea, because then
Yeah.
it'd be then you could get away from the 2-year, but still have someone be there for that long. That's actually real cool. I know, I would have been interested.
Right,
in that.
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I said, I know.
Exactly, exactly.
I know kids that would be interested in this.
Okay.
Okay, so we should probably go back to Scott again.
I knew I
No,
forgot
it's-
something.
No, I could, the
So sorry.
TV's not on today, so we're all right. Well, maybe it's on. We'll move that one. Okay. The Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue a public hearing under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233, today, Thursday, December 8th, here in Town Hall, to request a notice of intent, followed, a notice of intent filed by Lot 1, Century Mill Road.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Again, I'm going for a record of this one. The longest public hearing process for a single family house lot. Am I close yet?
No.
Yeah.
Close?
We're the prize.
So we're getting closer, right?
So the last time we left off, there was a request of the Conservation Commission for peer review of the wetland resource areas. And I was given a list by your agent of acceptable peer reviewers. I went through the list and called the people that were highlighted and so you could do it the soonest. And Ducharme Dillis was available to do it quickest, and they did do it. So I met Brandon out there, and he walked and reviewed all of the wetland resource areas on the site, reviewed the site plan, and then issued a letter report. You have a copy of it, okay? So the he was pretty much good with everything. He made one small suggestion that in between this flag and this flag, that we captured, there was a little bump out spot right there, so that flag B18-1, we added one new flag there, we mutually agreed, on it, and I had no issues with that, so we added that. That was then added to the plan, and doesn't really change the buffer zone lines because it's not a driving flag for the buffer zones, they usually, it's the upper points that drive where the buffers go and all like that. So that doesn't, it doesn't change any of the proposal or the design or anything else. So we just made that one flag change with the revision date of 11/23. He issued his letter. I trust that you've read it, but
Yep.
more or less it
I
says that
forwarded it to them.
he's in agreement with how we depict the resource areas on the plan. And that was what requested of me, and that's what we did. That's all I have for you today.
Great.
It's good.
Does this change any of the setbacks to like the septic at all?
No.
It's still the same?
Yeah, because it's all driven by the flag B21 and B18.
Okay. So did everyone get a chance to
Yeah.
review Brandon's, sorry, his review of the property? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I read through it.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Sure thing.
Okay. And I obviously wasn't here.
Oh, and we walked together too, since the
Yes,
last hearing as well.
yes.
Because you had that chance, so me and Rebecca walked the site as well.
So my first question is, I was reading in one of the revised proposals for the project about the driveway specifically. And you proposed the gravel to remediate the proposed paved driveway.
I think
for
that was a
asphalt.
request of, I think you, Brian, I think
Early-
early on in the
early
process,
process,
we asked for it to be
if it should
converted
be-
from asphalt to gravel.
So, which I did see that. And just my question, and knowing that it was switched, my question to you, because obviously you want familiarity with the materials in a driveway. And maybe you don't know this, but is there permeable surfaces that aren't too much of a cost difference that you could use? So because it's so close to the wetland, I reached out to Harold to ask that question, and he had, which is a DPW, just in terms of materials for a pervious driveway, not specific to this. But he had discussed something about popcorn concrete, which is a pervious, and I didn't know if, not knowing the applicant's financial.
Yeah, I mean, there was an original preference to use asphalt
Okay,
on this. That was the original proposal.
okay,
It was modified, labeled as gravel, by the request of the commission.
okay,
The preference would be to still to use asphalt, and
Okay.
the permeable asphalt is a fine product to use. You're familiar with it. Basically, it takes up the
Yes.
fines
yeah,
in the mixture, and you build it with effectively an 18 to 24-inch base
yeah,
that's absorbing. Now, we already have good gravel material here for an infinitely long base, but
right,
we would gladly accept a condition of the order that would allow a permeable asphalt driveway rather than a gravel driveway.
okay. And this is just something I think I sent it in an email, in terms of questions that I was just needed clarification.
I mean, it would be the
because it's so
applicant's
tight.
preference for that matter, right?
Okay,
to do that.
yeah. And after speaking with some individuals about driveway materials, the concern with a gravel driveway, and having driven on gravel driveways, and to me, my first thought is always if the gravel's pervious, or more pervious than others. Yeah, I'm trying to like think about, yeah,
You have to
it's
redo it
erodes.
every couple of
has to
years.
It
be
erodes down
maintained.
off.
And is
It
that
squishes, it
something?
squishes out, it compacts.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
in my mind, if the goal is to have the most, let's call it like natural ground surface,
Mhm.
if kind of critters are in mind,
Yeah.
then this, you can have the kind of the gravel in mind, right? Because it doesn't really bother, frogs and stuff to hop over it and that
Right.
kind of thing. Although they will hop over asphalt as well, but it's more
So
a
my-
natural material. But if the goal is to get more water in the ground and have less disruption, the gravel driveways do require maintenance over time.
Right.
Every couple of years, they require, kind of refreshing. Sometimes they plow them, at the top edges get scooched off to the edges and things like that.
So I'm thinking of, because it's a project that's very tight next to the wetland resources, the reason why I had reached out to ask that question was because of the potential erosion from a gravel driveway where, and I know maybe this is taking back a step, but I wasn't here, so I just like to throw it out there. It might be more beneficial in a project like this to have some sort of natural vegetation on the sides of an impervious asphalt, because of, just like you just said, when I was speaking to the other professionals about it, excuse me, it was water runoff, which I know you have like vehicles and you have other things contributing to it, of course, but the gravel may cause larger particles to be in the wetland, and especially if that's a vernal pool, that's something else. And because we seem to have large concerns about this, obviously, and obviously continuously asking questions, I think that's just, I wanted to throw that out there while we're talking about these things. I wasn't sure what the background was, I guess, to decide the gravel driveway.
It was basically just trying to figure out what best practices were, and maybe we didn't ask the right questions.
I mean, with
Yeah.
either, but that's just something that arose in my mind, that's all.
So chemicals leach from here and go into there. So with having vegetation here, it's like a bioremediation type, sort of will pull up some of that.
Right.
So it prevents it from here. And then my question would be, what do you do with snow and when there's, two cars trying to get in? It
Right.
still seems tight.
For gravel? Well, this is only a short, there's a turnaround
Oh, right,
here,
okay.
and things like that, and that's further away.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the permeable asphalt. I think it makes for a better end product long term, in my experience.
And as much as I do, because of the area is so natural and everything, I would like gravel looks a little bit more natural, I guess, but having spoken to, like I said, a couple other professionals who have experience in using different materials, most of them weren't encouraging gravel because of the large sized particle, I guess is the word, that would be potentially deposited versus the water that you could remediate.
I think it's a great plan, Rebecca.
So what happens with the leaf droppings on that? Because I think it's like it's got holes in it, water goes through, but if you get too many leaves, and don't you have to take out trees in order to do that so it doesn't clog the driveway?
Yeah, every couple of years you have to clean it out so that you don't.
The homeowner that's just part of having a popcorn type.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, you can allow, some percentage of those to get filled with fine particulates over time and clog the ability for it to appropriately infiltrate. The good news on the site is we're 10 feet above elevation-wise, the wetland, and we've dug all the holes in here, and it's very coarse ground material, right? So any water that lands anywhere in here, whether it lands on a pervious asphalt surface or runs off the edge of it for that matter, it's all going right into the ground. There's no rock, ledge, there's no till, there's no tight clink, there's nothing to erode or to even run over the surface of the water, of the ground rather. It's all going right in the ground. This is as beautiful gravel as it comes. If you could make it's probably why they dug this out in the first place. I think this was dug out to get material for one of the roads nearby or something like that. you know.
I mean, a very, very long time ago,
Yeah,
but.
Yeah, exactly, I mean, because it's beautiful material, you know, it's the kind of stuff people sell out of gravel pits.
So my other question that I have is regarding that back fence
Mhm.
and placement, and maybe that's something that is confirmed by us, but as you are proposing it right now,
Mhm.
is that on the top of the slope, or is there a setback from the top of the slope that that fence will be placed? I know that's a small area back there, but I'm just,
Yeah, I mean, it more or less follows that 318 contour, so it's plus or minus going right across the break and slope there.
okay.
You know, it's close to it.
I will say with that, I would like to see it a little bit more offset from the slope.
The
I mean,
only-
it doesn't have to
The only
be-
part that dips on the slope a little bit is just that one spot where this dry well is. You see that?
Yes,
That 318
yep, so-
contour right there?
and-
That's the only spot where
For,
it goes onto the slope at all.
right, and for me, it's not, the fence I think is a good idea in terms of, you know, if someone were living in this type of a home, to show where the resource is. However, in installing it, that's where I'm saying, take it back from the slope a little bit, so there's not as much of a disturbance on the wetland resource area.
It's just a post and rail fence. I mean, you know, it's just hand posts. So
Right.
It's really minimal in terms of disturbance. And then what we did too is, what we talked about in the field is make anywhere within 10 feet of the limit of work line, not having a full basement that required excavation, but to have that corner there and this whole edge back here on a slab,
Right,
so that there's no excavation close to that.
right,
And-
and I do
and-
very much
And
appreciate
that slab
that. I
acts as
spoke
effectively a
to-
retaining wall.
Yes, I spoke to one other professional specific to construction, because again,
Mhm.
I'm not a builder.
Mhm.
In terms of which is better
Mhm.
for a foundation, and they had clarified that the difference between a regular foundation and a slab. And just for the commission's knowledge, I did send an email just saying what the difference was, but that if that is kept a regular dug foundation, the footing of the foundation would be out further, so it would be right on that line, so that's actually a better remediation effort, because then it's the footprint of the plan of what you see, it's not extended for the footing.
There's less than 5 feet here.
Mhm.
That's 3 feet on that backside.
Don't you have to dig down below the frost line even to hold up a slab?
So
You
what
still
you
have to
do
dig,
is
right?
you dig down, today was
You still have to
about 4
dig.
feet, and then you would fill.
Right, but it's
Or-
different than an 8 or a 10-foot cut, something like that, for a full
Right.
foundation.
But you fill, dig, and then you fill it back in once concrete is there.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's what
so,
acts like a holding back retaining wall.
I don't
So-
know, how would you not disturb, how does a person, I mean, I'm like 3 feet wide.
It's just enough,
What?
it's just enough to.
I mean, how do you not disturb this area? How does,
It's just basically a foot passageway, to get through and a little 24-inch wide, deck mower.
and I also
That's it.
spoke with Bill Brookings about digging the foundation, because obviously that was your concern, that's, I think everyone on the commission's concern is, okay, once you get large machinery in here, what's gonna fall over the edge, what's gonna, and he is very confident that in digging that corner with appropriate machinery, it is possible. However, I had asked the question about, what about the groundwater, the water table? Is there gonna be potential flooding involved with a foundation when it's being dug, and then you need to outsource somehow? Maybe that's not the right word, but, and he had also said that when they were digging their test pits, to figure out the septic, perk test, he said the foundation is proposed above the grade of where the water table is.
That's right, the water table is driven by these wetlands. So down at elevation, 311, something like that, and the ground up in here is at 322. So we were digging 10 feet holes, and it was dry as a bone. And because, again, 'cause it's gravel, it doesn't get wicked up like you get in a till environment. So there will be zero interception of groundwater. Everything's way above groundwater everywhere here.
And then also I researched this because obviously
You've done your homework.
concerning. I did because I needed to be confident
Right.
or know which questions to ask because honestly, looking at this first time, I said, oh my goodness. In terms of maintaining the well, regular maintenance is just sort of manual, which I don't know if any of you are aware of, so excuse me if I'm being repetitive, but
No.
I have yet had that experience. And it's just either one, someone walking and checking it, two, walking and towing a larger machine, I'll call it, but equipment rather. And this is something I also asked Bill in terms of if you're in that tight of a space and there needs to be maintenance done, in terms of, for whatever reason, an extreme event happens and it needs to be replaced. He said that is the only time there needs to be a large vehicle in there, and then you would build a temporary road of some sort or ramp or platform over the jurisdictional area because of the tightness. But he again was very, very confident that unless we get an extreme earthquake or it's a catastrophic event, very, very unlikely.
Specific to the well, just so that I can.
Yes,
and
specific to the well.
And it's clear in my mind, we still have to dig a well here, right, and that's
Yep.
still,
It's proposed here.
yeah,
Right.
right, and that's still heavy equipment and heavy machinery.
Yep.
So could we talk a little bit about, because in my mind, this is above and beyond typical erosion control in this site, as far as construction is concerned, what are we proposing as far as protection around the disturbed site during construction?
Did you have a comment about that?
No, you
So,
can go first
I
if
mean-
you would like.
We weren't proposing anything beyond, conventional erosion control measures on the site because, for two reasons. One, when you have a very gravelly material, the opportunity for runoff is very, very small. I mean, realistically, you could probably do this with just a straight silt fence, and the other reason is that there's not a lot of cuts and fills on the site, right? So if you look at the grades, everything in here is proposed at existing grades, which are flat. So we're not working on a slope. We're not trucking in or removing any fine materials. We're not having any significant cuts and fills on the property, and we're not building a slope or cutting a slope. So the only real reason, practically speaking, for the erosion control barrier, it's really kind of just a marking for the construction activities to confine them. The likelihood of actual real erosion out here, in my experience on working on construction sites for 20 years in this kind of material, is little to none. But that said, if it requires a certain level of robustness for your confidence level, we can propose as robust of a erosion control measure as possible. I think on this site, if you simply just had orange construction fencing as a visual barrier and black siltation fencing during construction, I can't imagine how you would need anything more than that. But I'm open for discussions if you have different thoughts on that.
So I would, just in seeing other projects that aren't as tight as this one, I agree you're not doing extreme grading or anything. But that's really not what we're concerned with on this project. We're concerned with how close it is to the resource areas. That being said, when looking at this project, I could see, yes, the snow fence, silt barrier, I think double hay bales, I would say that. So to mark off the limit of work on that corner and all the way around. I would also like to see, and the commission can agree or not, but along, if the driveway is going to be the pervious asphalt or whatever it may be, even if it's gravel, I would like to see some native vegetation planted along the driveway to act as a filter. And I also would not like to see lawn, but lawn in the conventional sense, I guess. I would like to see some sort of stabilization with, again, native species, whether it's native grasses or native shrubs or native ground cover even. I would be happy with that.
On this strip along the driveway right here, you're talking
Strip
about?
along the driveway, behind the house, in that corner. And also something we need to think about, it depends on, you know, if the project is approved, etc. But if it is, right, and we say, I don't know when the construction will begin or not, but typically you would cover it with mulch. And maybe that's the way we go until it's stabilized and until growing can occur. However, I would want to say that there's another material that's better than that. I don't think there is, but maybe just a viewing of when the mulch is placed so that we're sure there's nothing falling into the wetland there. Because I know that's a slope. I know there's a fence that's going to be there eventually, but
All right, so
It's
just
gonna go under,
a couple of thoughts, and
Yeah.
all those are good points. So, again, I am quite confident that based on the material and the grades and the cuts and the fills being, you know, very minimal,
Yeah.
and it being a flat site on a plateau,
Yeah.
that actual erosion is likely to be little to none.
right.
And since area is important, you know, a hay bale takes up
Yep, I
that much,
understand.
that much width. And so, rather than hay bales, which I don't think are going to help us out here,
So,
one thing we could propose, maybe instead, is to use super silt fence. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's reinforced with chain link. So you have a chain link back to it, and it's towed in 4 to 6 inches in the ground and backfilled. It's rugged, and you can it's staked in with metal poles instead of, you know, wooden poles. It's a robust structure that a contractor couldn't just accidentally knock over, you know, with something. And
Well, I'm not familiar with that, Scott. What's in front of that fence? Is it just silt fence on chain link, or is
right,
there
so
something?
it's backed by a chain link fence with metal poles. So it's a picture like a 2-foot-high chain link fence
Sure.
fronted with black siltation
Vinyl
fence.
thing.
Right, so it's the regular plastic silt fence that you're used to seeing.
Okay.
But just,
This silt fence material is towed in
it's
on the
towed,
site side.
correct, on the site side, with the flap on the bottom going in. You know, we can have a pre-construction, you know, inspection of it and things like that.
That-
But it's a small footprint, you know, it only has to take up the narrow width of that,
Gives you the space.
as opposed to, you know, a 12-inch, you know, kind of footprint of a hay bale, which often can introduce, you know, a lot of times they're getting away from hay bales too with the seed introduction and things like that too.
Right.
There is the mulch sock, which is a good product too. But again, those are good in areas where you're filling in little crevices where you're expecting erosive activity.
So
You know,
I'm,
this is more, to my mind, just
Yeah.
a tight site that we want to control activity on. So that would be my
correct,
thought on
correct.
that.
And I agree with you. So hay bales is sort of a second or third way of protection, and limit of work, but also, I think at least one row of hay bales, maybe not double, would be sufficient. And so it's not necessarily this crazy material that's gonna be eroding,
Mhm.
but if I go and dig by hand something, there's gonna be some disturbance, there's gonna be some dirt that goes over there unless I'm slowly digging it. You're digging with machinery, so there's gonna be some disturbance, there's gonna be some dirt that goes over, and then if it rains, so and the silt fence, yes, would suffice, But I think that extra protection for me, and maybe the commission's different,
Well,
but for me.
to me, it's not an arguing point. Whatever the commission decides is fine. I just don't, I'm just thinking, I think it's a little bit perhaps.
So
overkill.
what-
Okay.
On the other question about the,
It's not overkill.
what's that?
It's not overkill.
It's fine.
Okay, but we can get an erosion control plan. Like this is a sewage
Right,
disposal
right.
system plan. Scott, do you have an erosion control sheet that talks maybe some about the specifics and the placement of these items?
Well, no, I mean, we just have the notation on here. We don't have.
There's some cross sections to show what a super silt.
Do you have
plant-
that on any of your past plans?
We have not provided a spec on that, you know, but we can condition it, you know, to say whatever you want to see on it, it's fine. You know, it's not a big deal. So as far as this edge goes, you know, many times a grassed filter strip is often designed for BMP, for water quality swales.
Right.
Okay, so it's not inappropriate to have something, you know, the width of just a lawnmower along the edge for the grass infiltration.
Right.
It's fine if it's native grass species, that's fine. But the idea was to, you know, to pull this back as far as possible, so you do get this 35 to 40 feet or whatever it is of you know, natural wooded buffer. But
Right.
again, you're not even gonna get runoff even down this wooded buffer
So-
because the water's going down and across, not across the surface.
And I appreciate that, and I do take note of that, and it did take note of that. What I'm saying, I guess I'm trying to avoid the mower being there. And that's why I'm saying some form of vegetation or ground cover. Because then it is still wooded to the driveway. You do have some flat land or yard around the house, but there's no way of, you know, I mean, it could happen with the car with the driveway right there. It could be, you know, the mower's leaky. I've gone through a couple mowers, like in my parents' yard, or my yard, it happens. But, so that's also my thought in terms of equipment used to maintain that. I know it's a typical machine that most people are familiar with. I say most because you never know. But it's there, and I think when I'm suggesting not grass next to the driveway, I'm suggesting there's no maintenance really needed on that right next to the driveway, aside from maybe trimming some bushes back if you plant native species of some sort, or if you fill it with a ground cover that doesn't need to be mowed. That's where I'm coming from. It's not necessarily, it's the filtration too, but it's not all of that.
So as you build this driveway, where do you put all the materials that go on the driveway?
Well, I mean, this is all at grade, right? So it's just all you have to do in this case is just remove the, you know, the topsoil, you know, and you would have to build the site, you know, from the inside out, right? So you have to come put the well in first, and just kind of work the way out, put the foundation in, you know, stockpile here.
And where is the area to stockpile material on top of the stuff?
I mean, you're limited to this area, so that's why there's not gonna be lots of cuts and fills. You're gonna end up probably having an export, you know, because you're just gonna have whatever little bit of foundation material comes out, and it'll have to be trucked off-site, because you're not gonna need it. So this is definitely an export site. So there's no, you know, as material is pulled out, you know, it can be trucked out, and you get little teeny plots for small piles, but you just have to work with what you have.
How do you get the stuff out of once you start digging the foundation, how do you truck just put it in a truck and just move it out
Oh,
the
yeah.
door?
Yeah.
So.
Do you need to protect it's gonna be on that same driveway? It needs to be protected during the construction, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, the driveway is not put in first. You know, you would build it, you know, while it's still just in the.
But the construction vehicles would be accessing all of that.
Well, yeah,
path,
it would
right?
just be, you know, stripped off the topsoil and just be the base material during construction. And then on your way out, you make the final, you don't want that, you wouldn't want to put the, as you called it, the popcorn asphalt down early on, because you'll end up, you know, mucking it up. So that's after the site's cleaned up and it looks good.
So to clarify, you're not proposing to stockpile materials on site?
I mean, could be minimal temporary stockpiles, but not large or long-term stockpiles. I mean, obviously, you gotta pick up a piece of dirt and put it somewhere, but
Right.
as you look at the site, it's an obvious export site, right?
Yeah. So-
You're not gonna have, the topsoil is gonna be removed from here,
Yeah.
and so that has to go somewhere. It can't be used here.
Right, so understanding that it has to be exported, but even still, I would like to understand where you propose that temporary, while it's being
The only
worked
spot,
on.
the only spot you have is on top of the,
So that's installed after everything's built? Correct.
the leach field?
Yes.
No, I mean, you can move things around, I mean, it's a working site, you move things around. So you-
Right,
so you
but I'm
can-
saying
you can
put things-
excavate and put your bed in here,
Yeah.
and then put the top on it, and then you can put material on top of it.
Okay, and that
Yeah.
won't affect that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's tight.
Mm.
You can drive the tonnage of a truck over this?
You can use tread material, you wouldn't drive
Cement.
yeah, you wouldn't drive a cement truck on top of it, but if you have on treads, they distribute the weight and things like
Okay.
that. And so once you have 18 to 24 inches of material on top of pipes, the tread distribution of weight
Distributes, okay.
doesn't crush it or anything like that.
I think what my questions were.
And whatever erosion control we land on here, Rebecca, we're talking about one unobstructed loop, correct?
Yes.
From
Yes,
Century Mill Road.
continuous.
Continuous,
Yeah.
all the way around the limit of work, all the way
Yeah.
back to Century Mill Road.
Correct. Did you have another question you were trying to think of?
Yeah. I don't know if I wrote it down. Like I said, I went out and answered a lot of them myself.
Yeah, you should put them in your timelines. Yeah. Hold on, so that's been coming, so can we get through it?
So I just want to ask one. So
Yes.
you're moving trucks in and out of there to move all the dirt, bring in cement and everything, and these trucks leak stuff. That's what the erosion control is going to protect, right? So
Yes.
you're not going to get pieces of gravel rolling over into the wetland. That's what that's, basically, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Seems to me they're pretty invasive species anyway, dump trucks, but I mean, they tear up the road, land pretty
Do all
much.
this work and come in and out, in and out, in and out.
That's what, yeah, they have this turnaround to work with, that's it.
So another just clarification question. Are you done with your-
No, I'm trying to envision with this 20-foot entrance.
Yep.
Trucks come in and out and in and out and in and out, because as you
Yeah,
find an
yeah.
export site, right? It's clear, right? But how does that not eventually, the number of times that it takes to build a house, it's a small house, but how does that not disturb the land after, how many times is it gonna, trucks gonna be in and out there? And
Right,
there's
so-
different kinds of trucks
So
coming
if you
in and out.
compact a fine material, like a silt or a fine sandy loam or something like that, and you go over it a number of times with the truck, particularly on wheels, where all the weight is distributed only on 4 points, it does compact it, and it makes it effectively like an impervious surface,
Mhm.
and the water can run off. But, you would,
That's my,
but you wouldn't do that construction they don't ever do that on top of topsoil, because topsoil is squishy, it makes mud, right? So when you come into something like this, what always you would do is they would strip off that topsoil, which is,
I know what topsoil is.
six to 10 inches or something like that, just the thick black stuff on top,
And where do they put that?
right? And so that either gets temporary stockpiled or exported because it's not needed anymore. Once you take the topsoil off here, what do you need it for? There's nowhere else to put it. So it's just, you know, if they take it to their landscape yard and they sell it to, you know, a homeowner who wants to buy it for their garden or something like that. You know, so you just take that topsoil out and you have a gravel base, and gravel bases don't compact unless there's fines to fill in the voids. And this is, you know, I wish you had been able to see the test pit holes here. When I say gravel, I mean it's stones and, you know, it's sand, stones, cobbles almost. So when you see them build like pads for construction access roads, this is the kind of stuff that they build those roads with. You know, it's like ideal for it. So there's no number of times a truck's gonna go over gravel cobbles and compact it into something that would be worried about. And then it gives them the right base to build the final driveway on top of.
So I think too, on a project like this, it may be beneficial to the commission for the minimal temporary stockpiles, so that there's an understanding to stockpiling temporarily on the property to a certain extent, maybe a sizable, find out what the size of that leach field area is and keep that amount, is that reasonable to have that measured space allocated for stockpiling and then have the rest exported? Because you wouldn't need more than that on the property at once, correct?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, you could specify that if you want, but it's just common sense practice too. So, I mean,
You're right.
if you'd
It's
like to
just-
make that specification, it's fine, but there's really no other option besides what you just said.
Right.
Do you know, like cubic volume that's allowable in this space?
Well, you could just designate it as on top of the leach field and
I
no
would
other spaces
say,
on site.
yeah, I would say, you know, find out what the measured spaces of the leach field, go a little bit further than that and say, you know, cannot exceed this square footage of this specific area on the property. And maybe,
Well, I mean, look, the 75-foot buffer zone is like this, right?
right.
So what if you just said no stockpiles within 75 feet? Is that easy? That's an easier thing to say, and it overlaps with the septic system.
Good idea.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry. So,
I just want to say, Ms. Malera,
Yeah.
we're going over, apologies, Mr. Goddard here has been working on this case with us for over a year, almost a year, right, at this point,
I think so.
almost a year. And we're-
That's okay, we're both farmers, so we both just snooze back, if
Okay,
you don't mind.
thank you.
So I guess my last question that I have, right this second, is I did mention to you, and I did tell the commission about, and I don't know if you remember or not, but in a neighborhood I'm very familiar with in Boylston, in a different town, it has a larger setback than this from the wetland, but with FEMA flooding, it became an issue, not to the structure of the home, but it did have maybe a 20-foot buffer in terms of lawn to the wetland. And like I said, with overactive beaver activity, it did end up flooding more than they had previously expected when they built, and it was further than this. So that being said, structurally, or I guess, is that kept in mind when building something like
Well, I
this so
mean,
close?
the good news is, we're 10 feet above the wetlands, right? So it's
And I
not one of these
understand that.
situations where the wetland grade is, a 12-inch differential and you're just right there elevation-wise. There's a big elevation change. And the 100-year floodplain elevation is more or less coincident with the wetland boundary,
Okay.
312. And there already is beaver activity,
Right.
right? So where we're seeing the water now is a result of beaver activity. Now, I guess they could build their dams up 10 more feet, but if they did, that would affect this whole part of the town of
Everything.
Bolton.
Right.
You know, so I think we're already looking at the results of, you know, flooding beaver activity
Okay.
out there. And I would have a hard time imagining it, how it could come up 10 more feet
Okay.
in elevation.
I was just curious about that.
I could be wrong. Do you think
Time will tell. Mother
Time will
Nature.
tell, right.
Mother Nature's
Right,
stuff.
and
The
then
10 feet's a long,
Right,
long, big.
but I think it's a fair question, and I would ask the next one is, are you expecting to have to put some type of sump pump system in here, or French drain system in here?
Well, again, no, because, you know, we are many feet above even the groundwater elevation. We're many feet above the 100-year floodplain
Just from
elevation.
a proximity standpoint.
Yeah, so there's no water. This would be a dry basement.
Bill Brookings did confirm that as well
Okay.
when I spoke with him.
So there's nothing from the basement that would be being pumped out into the wetland?
There should not
Or
be.
if it was, we can condition that to have it tied into the septic system.
Yes.
Okay.
And I would suggest doing that just
Down the
in
road.
case down the road there's a different homeowner and they don't know what to do.
I like it.
And I would hate to have someone have an issue in the future.
And it's gone through all of the boards in town, because I'm
Right.
thinking
The
also
Board of Health has approved the septic system.
the safety issues with the house is close to, this is
The
quite a
only
drop.
thing you need is a building permit from a
Yep.
building inspector. But
Right.
we have to get through these boards because, for example, the building inspector will want to know about the slabs and this and that. So it has to meet Mass Building Code.
Right.
Right. And Liz, to answer your question as well, in speaking, Bill Brookings, he would like a final whenever it's
Yes.
formulated, because he knows each board may have different conditions,
Yes.
etc. He just would like me to request that
He gets
you
the final
just give him a
version.
final one, so
Yeah.
he can just say, yep.
Right. Right. And nothing that we've changed has affected the septic design.
Right, right, I
Since
see
we went
that.
from a 4-bedroom to a 3-bedroom system.
Right.
That was the change. And they approved it as a 4, and then we went back and they reapproved it as a 3.
Right.
So they have this design as their current approval at the board.
Right, and that's non-jurisdictional to us, except for the setback from the septic is related to us because of the wetlands.
Right.
But that's still appropriate. Actually, it's further than 75 feet, so.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, Rebecca, just for the record, I think you've done a great job getting up to speed on this one. Just
Trying to do that.
And like I said, because this project is so tight and not having construction experience with different driveway materials, I really, in order to grasp this in a way that was unbiased, I needed to know the details about, okay, foundation, well maintenance, the driveway, to answer my own questions that I had, because it's close, and to me, just like the commission's brought up, you would think automatically, this is gonna be a huge disturbance, which it's a disturbance to the land, but I think there's an ability to put so many conditions on it that there's not gonna be a problem. And if there is a problem, it's cease and desist, and it's stopped until it's remediated, because that's the only way that it would be able to work on this property, I think. But that's just me.
Anybody have any additional questions offhand? So, it looks like we went over a bunch of things tonight,
Okay.
right? And maybe I would first, the driveway, which you said the client would prefer a paved driveway. and something like the popcorn asphalt might be amenable to them. It seemed like that might be best practice or something in this area, right?
Yep.
It sounds like we'd want to condition it so that there was ongoing maintenance to make sure that it doesn't get, whether it's gravel or that other material, either way, there's going to be ongoing maintenance to make sure that it doesn't become impervious.
All right.
Thank you.
Defining the stockpile, right?
75 foot.
Talked about that, right? Which seemed like that would work as well, right? You do whatever area you can find outside that.
Seems like a super erosion control.
Super silt filled.
Yeah, and then
Super
Jeff had planned to see like an erosion control plan for this, to see if we can see the breakouts for those.
All you gotta- all you gotta-
What's, yeah.
I mean, all you gotta do is say in your order of conditions, super silt fence is required, for erosion control, or if you want to, mulch sock or hay bale, you can just specify it and it's done. And we have the boundary of it already shown.
Okay.
And I think, yes, we will obviously condition it to that extent, but I think I would like to see just it doesn't necessarily have to be, because we see the extent of it on this
And
erosion
you could
control.
say in your order,
Just-
a revised plan showing these things have to be
Correct.
reported prior to construction.
Correct. Yep, so something along those lines, but then also if you have, and I mean, I'll look it up too, but specifics to the erosion control, and that can be, just send me an email that describes it. Just not being familiar with the cage silk fence.
It's a great product. I can bring it to a site and Mullen.
Oh.
It's
I'm sure.
It's like robust.
So we said the super silt, snow fence,
It costs 3 times as much as the other one to put in.
Yeah, money's not
and
up there.
Vegetation.
wait a second.
Yeah.
Then did you want to see a line of hay bales or not?
Would it be necessary, does the super silt fence remove the need for the hay bale line? Like, I mean, does the hay bale line disturb more being behind that fence?
I don't.
I don't know.
I think you should have the opportunity to learn more about it and be comfortable with it.
Yeah, so.
But you're gonna condition it based on
Right.
what you feel acceptable.
Right, so I'm just gonna write potentially a. But it may be that that's sufficient. I would like to figure more out about that, but that's okay, that's something,
Yeah.
But we appreciate your offering that, Scott. It
Yeah,
sounds like a good
that's
product. And it sounds like it's the right application.
Yeah,
Potentially.
and then Liz, what did you say, vegetation?
Yeah, you had mentioned the vegetation.
Right, so, along the driveway, instead of lawn, have it be natural ground cover, or, I mean, you could make it something like, put some blueberries in there, so,
Blueberries.
it can be a good thing to add to the residents, and they can make it a family. I don't know, but I'm just saying, you can pick a native species that's, productive.
beneficial,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
beneficial.
absolutely. And something valuable too, right? Because they're not gonna be pushing snow off the driveway into the vernal pool.
Right, and so that too, but, yeah.
So the, okay.
So you can actually back scrape it and, or push it back, towards the leach field or towards the turnout.
That should be in the condition as well.
Okay. And the vegetation will be approved by me, or the commission in terms of,
Yeah.
I mean, you have the,
That
that background.
You were the.
So
yeah.
basically, you send us the list of, or the vegetation to be planted or used,
right.
and then just say, is this okay or not?
So
It's native.
S&M Farms is the largest installer of erosion control in New England. I don't know if you know them. So they have a product on their website called FX Fence. It's called, they quote, heavy-duty wire-backed silt fence. This is a very rugged and long-lasting silt fence system. We use a heavy-duty wire mesh backing that is 39 inches high and is supported by 2-inch by 2-inch by 5-foot hardwood stakes, which are generally spaced at 8 foot on center. The heavy-duty wire and silt fence are trenched 6 inches and are attached to the stakes with half-inch staples and 3-inch round galvanized stress plates on each stake. The plates are fastened to the stakes with 1.5-inch screws to securely hold the silt fence fabric and wire to the stakes. This is a great system for a long-duration project because it requires so little to no maintenance to be done and
So
does
is
not
this the
biodegrade
same
in a
as
short
the
time.
super silt fence that you're talking about?
Yeah, it's
Same
the
thing?
same product. yeah.
Okay, great.
I thought it was chain link though, it's not chain link.
Well,
In my mind, I had galvanized posts and metal fence, right?
there's different companies
Now
that
you're stepping back.
No, the
So
different
this is-
companies
this
install,
is-
install it differently. This is a local company that installs a product like that. So, I mean, we can call it whatever we want, but it's more or less a wire-backed, metal-backed product that stands up tall and
I
erect.
think that's
So
what I
to
want
solve this question, this is why I want you to email the exact product
Yeah.
you will use
I'll send it
to spec so that we can say yes, or the product that is more heavy duty than that. I don't know, but just so we're clear on
Yeah.
what is being used before you go ahead and buy this material. Okay,
When do you want to start digging?
Sump into septic was the other one, that in the future, if there was going to be a sump in the future.
some,
Um,
yeah.
I'm trying to think, was there anything
to. All
else?
the typical boilerplate, right? No
Yeah.
herbicides, pesticides, fertilizers.
Yeah,
right?
no salt, sand,
Salt, sand, right?
which I think we had in the original draft, but I could be wrong.
Yep. What,
Oh, signage.
is there snow specific language we want to use?
It's a tough one.
I know
Like,
we
do
do,
we have
but I don't know.
snow-specific language that we've used in the past?
I thought we did, but Carol
I-
had, like you said, a boilerplate.
I can check, I didn't see anything about snow though.
Okay.
I can double check, but in the ones I looked at, there wasn't anything about snow.
And the signage also go on there.
So, yes, signage, would we, do you want the signs on the tree, you mean, or do you mean?
No, signage defining,
Oh,
which I
yes,
think we already
okay,
talked about, but I
clear.
just want to make
Yes.
sure that
I mean,
they're.
you could put them on like every 10th post with a posted rail fence. You could put a kind of sign,
What,
something like that.
Saying
what were you
that we
talking
should-
about?
Yes,
Yes,
this was
okay.
everybody protected.
Yeah. Right, and then the yard waste cannot be,
stored on?
yes, stored.
In
without a
Bolton,
dump.
is it removed by the town? No?
Within the riverfront buffer, you can't pile it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll just have to, well, you can still bring it to the transfer station. No?
Transfer station does not take yard waste.
I mean, that's fine, as you just say it has to be off the property or not.
Transfer station doesn't let, take care of waste. Is that what you said?
They
So-
they don't take yard waste.
They can compost on top of the,
They do not take
on
yard
top
waste.
of the,
Which-
bleacher, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just basically can't go in the buffer zone. They can compost it somewhere else on the property, or you can contract for it to be removed. You just can't throw it into the pond.
There's a huge canopy
Happens
of
anyways.
trees here, and in the fall,
They have a lot of leaves that need to be managed.
I just don't see it happening.
Hmm?
I don't see where else it would go.
Yeah, no, they're falling now, so it's just,
Either leave them,
when they're maintaining them, they can't.
but then there's a driveway.
So, that is my other suggestion in terms of leaving it natural. Natural, meaning native species, ground cover, et cetera, and not having necessarily a lawn surrounding the house, because there are other vegetation that you can use that's just as nice as lawn, but it's not lawn where you would mow, pick up the leaves. And it's a yard, so yes, you're definitely gonna maintain your yard. Being a homeowner, that's typical of most, however, less likely to do it at a large extent if it's not a lawn that you're mowing consistently. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I do. I think the idea here was just to keep it just in a very minimal,
Yep.
cutting the grass around the house kind of thing, not have, there's no palatial lawn being proposed here.
Right.
Really, they just have this little side
I
yard.
don't really know if grass can even go
So,
there.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
You can avoid mowing, it's always better.
Right, and that's, but so, say that's the case, then there's still the driveway leaf litter that you would have to worry about. But like Brian said, that potentially could be composted in that same definitive area that we define as stockpiling. Yes, no?
Yeah, or any place outside the buffer zone, it's just taking any yard waste outside the buffer, which is, hard to say. It basically gives them that area and on top of the leaching field. So to compost or to leave things,
Yeah, sure.
or
Same
to
as
find
the-
some way to track it off, or, you can.
Sure. Same as the snow, right? What do we say? And that would
Mhm.
apply, right, Scott, 75 feet?
to stockpile snow,
Yeah, or yard waste.
seems reasonable. Because you do have a little spot at the end of the driveway, you can just turn around if you need to.
Right, and then you can
Push
always
up,
push it up.
Put
Yeah.
something.
And then my other, sort of to trying to think of potentially a homeowner, if it were approved, I really think that vernal pool should be certified. And although it will not affect the scope of the project, because you have, thankfully, which I already have about it, accounted for that in the project already, in what you proposed. I think whether it's the commission that does it or the applicant that has it certified, bottom line is I think it needs to be at least surveyed to see if it is indeed a certifiable vernal pool, instead of having this resource that we've now
Treated as,
investigated
yeah.
be treated as something that it's not. So that's another one of my concerns.
That's easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally haven't done it, but I can talk to Carol and find exactly what goes into it, but I believe it's simply just notifying them.
We've done hundreds of them.
Yeah, okay,
So we can do it.
Okay.
There's a form and
Yeah.
the data that you need to collect.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Anything else?
That I can think of.
Liz?
All I'm thinking about is mosquitoes right now.
Yeah, they're gonna have fun.
That too.
All right.
Essential oils.
Yeah, well,
Actually, rosemary, what is it, rosemary, lemon, and mint work very well.
If, you know,
Now,
Like
we're
that.
speaking of
A
these
homeowner
essential
that
oils,
doesn't
now.
care,
Everything can
yeah,
be cured with
right,
essential oils.
might use insecticides or, whatever they're gonna use, just
Yeah.
poisonous,
Pesticides.
and it just goes, I don't need to think about that, it's not within our jurisdiction, but that's what I'm thinking about.
Right, and I understand that.
But have you ever used essential oils?
I do.
She has,
because-
she's a-
yeah,
yeah, pretty
yeah,
sure
yeah,
she's a-
I try not to put, DEET all over me, but.
All right. Then we keep gonna get murderers in, because I feel bad, they've been waiting so patiently. So, it sounds like we need to see another draft of the order of conditions
Yes.
with as much of this put in as possible.
Yep.
Sometimes we'll vote to approve or not to approve with the additions, but I think we have enough, and there were some questions that we'd like to see how that gets drafted out, and actually have a chance to read it. Which means things, sir. we can continue, it seems like we've gotten as far as we can get, because I don't know how many more changes you could possibly make. You know, I think it's hammering out,
I don't think there's, I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
I don't
no,
think
please
there's
go
any
ahead.
more changes or information needed, but it's just me formalizing this, letting you read it, approve, not approve, change a couple things.
right. No, that's good, no, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Okay.
I don't think, and again, I could be wrong, if there's anything else major, huge, I mean, I did read all what Brandon had to say, and Rebecca's questions along with what Brandon had to say. Seems like they've taken a very good look. I know Scott's worked as hard as he can to get everything out as best as possible. I would like to see the orders as we kind of hash them out before we vote on them. I know sometimes we'll vote with, you know, ahead of time. But that said, there's no reason why we can't close the hearing and then vote to approve those next time. If you were okay with that, Scott, does that make sense? We can leave it open until our next
No,
meeting.
I'd rather close the meeting.
Right, just have it closed and then just see if we can approve these. It would also say, I would think that if once we have this drafted, if you get a copy around to all of us, you know, kind of for our input, get a copy to Scott, that it's one of those that we should be able to look at it, talk about it, give input, and kind of agree on it before our next meeting, which means you probably wouldn't need to be able to close the meeting tonight.
Right.
If we get the order in the thing where everybody's happy with, and you're happy with, we'll just, next meeting, vote on it and approve it, you know, as submitted.
When's your next meeting? Dave?
Fifth, yeah.
Okay. So I'm requesting to close the public.
Yeah, so, and everybody's comfortable with that, does that make sense? Okay. All right, in that case, I would make a motion that we close the public hearing for Lot 1 Century Mill Road.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. So closed.
Thank you.
And then we'll make the motion to move the NOI next meeting, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Thank you. Rebecca, there's one administrative issue that I came across on this other lot over here.
Okay.
There's a plan reference typo in the order.
Okay.
If in your time, you might take a peek at that.
Which, in lot 2, in the
Yeah.
order of conditions,
Look
you're
at the,
saying
look,
it.
look, look at the plan reference. You don't have to look at it right now, but, you know, when you get a chance.
The
And
plan
I-
reference?
Yeah.
Okay, is it,
It references a different site from Ducharme and Dillis. There was a plain reference in there that just got.
Right, it was boilerplate and stuck on.
Yeah, it looks like it was a cut and paste kind of a thing from a, is that it?
we'll tell you in a sec.
Well,
I think this is just the one. I
You have
put
other
out
people
for
here,
copy.
so I don't need to.
Yeah, I will
but
double
if you
check
could
what
take a
you're
peek at that,
saying.
I think we just.
You're saying the map and lot, basically?
No, the actual reference to approved site plan is an incorrect plan reference to the other project.
You're talking about like
Lot
here?
2 Century Road.
Project location.
Is this it?
Yep. That's a copy though that I printed out afterwards, the original. Interesting. Okay.
So that's probably something we just need to
Yeah.
administratively correct.
Thank you for
Okay.
pointing that out.
All right, have a good night, guys. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Yes.
Sorry about that, guys.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So we closed, moved, in my next meeting. And then, before he said this, what?
What's that?
Before he brought up the other plan, was there something else that I missed?
No, he was fine with us closing, he was fine with us voting next,
Wait, okay.
right?
Yep.
And that was it.
Okay.
Okay,
My mind went
I
to
understand.
different places.
Let me know when you have had a chance to catch your breath for a second. And you can go to Seven Bridge.
Did I take someone's agenda? No.
No?
Well, I think I'm- Yeah, all set.
Right? Okay. If you guys want to come up, really sorry.
Sorry.
The Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue a public hearing under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233, today, Thursday, December 8th, here in Town Hall to request a certificate, to request a notice of, to discuss a notice of intent for 7 Bridges Road in Lancaster, Maria Marrera, applicant, installation of culverts. Hello again, how are you?
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
I just want to introduce Sam Ewick. He's one of the farmers, and also because our party has we set up a conservation commission team that is comprised of some of the farmers, and all it does is for them to learn about conservation. We have an NRCS grant, a CIG grant, and as part of this grant, we really wanted to see if we could begin the education process with the farmers so they could really understand about the conservation, not only conservation, but the relationships between conservationists and farmers, because sometimes those are not the best of relationships. And so I just wanted to kind of see this was an opportunity for world farmers and the project that runs the flats to kind of, see if we could, if we can just get this relationship going. And I'm using this in particular as part of this learning process. So we had song come, and so all the farmers have walked the property. They know what the process is of the application and all that stuff, and it's just some farmers come to these meetings. I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of background of what I'm doing, so that way I'm using this as a teaching tool to see, not only for our farmers, but also, say, gee, how come we don't understand each other sometimes? Maybe because we get up so early and become ornery by the time this meeting's done. But anyway, I think everybody was, I'll let you guys run the meeting because that's all.
So, was everyone out on the area? Yes.
I have gone out once, yeah.
So it's the road out there that goes
Yes.
around the court.
Yeah, follows the flags right in.
Right, so, and again, as a basic overview, it's the installation of 1 or 2 culverts below or at the gradient of that road, in the hopes of reducing the water from the fields, yes, so that it can be used more efficiently for agriculture. Am I understanding this correctly?
Well, the road wasn't there originally, so if we would just, before the road was maintained continuously,
Yeah.
the maintenance of the road has built an impediment to the water just doing its thing, going back to the lower end, which is beyond where the road is.
Yeah.
And so basically, I'm just trying, we're not gonna take the road out.
Right,
We
yeah.
can't go back. And we're trying to kind of just making sure that when the water does come, it floods, water comes. It just, this to have the road not to keep the water, because the road wasn't there before, it would have naturally gone to,
Receding.
yeah, it was naturally gone to the lower end and done its thing on the other side, but.
So it's just basically opening up, I know being what you just said, but I'm just thinking out loud. So understanding that the water flows both ways, obviously, understanding that it will flood, but the culverts are in place to hopefully draw more water out when it does recede?
Yes.
Okay.
So, you know, when I walked through there, it was on that curve, right?
Yep.
And there was water there, that if the road wasn't there, would have.
Yeah, could have gone.
So they're just trying to, I think that's what that's what's going on.
And the continuous building,
Yeah.
keeping of the road is just, you know.
My mind is just going all over the place today.
So we have, so it's request for determination of applicability, just to correct the,
Right, I'm sorry. So
it's okay. I didn't write it on the.
Well, this was the COC one.
Right.
Wait a minute.
I already got sorts of confused.
Okay.
So these, I don't know if you want to see them in terms of confirming the proposed project, just as land use for purposes of agriculture is exempt from Wetland Protection Act as indicated on the Massachusetts Energy and Environmental Affairs webpage for this project. So therefore, asking if, because of that, it is exempt from further filing. But I think, I don't know if the commission has any questions in terms of the work being done or instruments used. I guess my question would be, how is it being built? So are you, I think last time you said you're hand digging it. So
Well,
is this, but, I mean,
I'm-
what is the work being done basically?
Well, when they maintain the road, they go in there with, they get a bobcat, and they use, you know, and they spread. Okay. They spread their material. What I'm hoping is for us not to go either, not to disturb any of the left, I mean, the right side. We're not gonna disturb anything, but it's to dig enough, so basically, it will be almost at land level, because right now the road is up. And, because we also, all it is we're trying to have it so that the water just kind of goes back and forth.
Right.
The water needs to go back and forth.
Yep.
You know, it all depends how compacted that road is already and how much rock they've used, stones, because.
My other, I'm sorry
Yeah.
for interrupting. Do you, maybe it's from what's already been given to me. I don't remember seeing it though. Do you know, I know you described to me the culverts and you had sent an image of a perforated pipe.
12-inch, right? This is
Was it
12
12
inch?
inch?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
that's-
trying- I remember
was
seeing
trying
the
to
image
remember.
too.
That big around.
Oh, no, it's that big,
Yeah,
it's 12 inch.
But it would be going in
Diameter.
level with where the road is now, and you'd be putting it like into the ground, and the top would be
And-
level.
Right.
Okay.
So in other words, the road will stay as is because they have to drive over it, but this would be basically at the ground that the land is.
That's my question.
Because right now, it's a grassy road, right? We're talking about a couple of tracks, sort of a grassy area. How much?
Grassy dirt.
Grassy dirt. How much topsoil between the top of the culvert, Maria, would be added back in? Are we looking at 6 inches here? Are we talking about 4 inches of material on top of the top of the
road,
culvert?
Once it's placed
So
in.
once the culvert is placed, how much organic material would be on top to reestablish the grass that's there?
Okay, so the grass, when they maintain, they don't maintain with topsoil. They maintain with gravel, they maintain with,
Riprap.
Riprap.
Yeah.
thank you.
There's a lot of big stones on that corner.
Yeah.
A lot of rocks.
I would, if,
There's no dirt.
I understand that, but
Right.
there's a position for 2 proposed culverts, and one of
Yes.
which is not on that corner. So I'm
Right.
trying to understand if this is approved and it's completed,
Right.
what the end result looks like. And it should be, in my mind, existing condition, right? So we should, if this is a benefit to you, that's fantastic, but that is an access point for multiple uses, right? Including EMT, that, how do you get back to existing conditions? Is it 2 inches of topsoil? Is it 3 inches of topsoil? Because it's not all improved road out there.
No, I agree, but I could, where the two main, the reason why we're asking for those 2 specific spots is that that's where the road has been maintained aggressively because they were low, and because they were low originally, and that's why they needed to be maintained. So when they were maintained, they were maintained with hard surface. So just below, if you literally, the grass just grew, my goodness, they were there 2 years ago, they were there last year with rocks, so that, but that's such a nice area that grass grows over it, and we don't mow it, and then nobody mows it. So, and those proposed sites, if you literally just get a shovel, it's rock.
You're correct, it is riprap under the grass. I think even in that other area,
So it's 1 inch, 2 inches?
maybe an inch, maybe 2 inches, but I think that he does have a point in, even though it is riprap and gravel now, if you're replacing it with culvert, why not put a couple inches over it, because then it
There'll
will
be grass up,
more.
it'll grass real
Right.
fast.
It'll do what you want it to do, it'll accomplish, if you wanna go so far as say it establishes more habitat because you have that, no matter how small, grass covering.
Mhm.
I don't think that's too much to ask.
No.
Yeah.
My only thing is, I want to make sure that Fish and Wildlife, because they'll go right after it and put it back, hey.
Right. So they, from my understanding, and I believe you talked to a representative from Fish and Wildlife, my understanding with how they work, because obviously you've spoken with them as well, and they've agreed to support you in this, and supply with the materials. But again, I don't know their protocol, but to me, and just seeing different projects, they wouldn't dig up the culvert. They wouldn't, if it's an area that's stable and established, once you put the culverts in, you install them properly and everything,
Right.
there's no reason they should have to go in, aside from maybe unclogging a culvert, but that may be on your end. But what I'm saying is, thinking the possibilities of what possible work they would be doing, I don't think they would mess it up, per se.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, maybe I misspoke, I was misunderstood. I don't think they'll mess it up, I think they want to make sure that they will put more stone if I go in there and I go, and so if we decide, because I don't, you know what I'm saying?
Right, they'll start over the topsoil,
I'm
yeah.
gonna put topsoil, and then they'll just go in with the riprap, because the trucks will, you know, as the trucks go in, it'll make.
So do you have a specification, a drawing? Is that
I
gonna
had
be? Yeah, because if that'll answer the questions, because it'll just say this is how it's done, and if they have a question, we can easily
I
fill it
don't
out.
think we did the tops, the top over the.
So, I don't know the top of it. So.
Because there are standard specs for how you install them. And if they're supplying it, normally I would think if they would
Literally just saw that.
give you a
Yeah,
spec
here's-
sheet,
I,
and just said, here's the.
oh, here we go. So I'll still have a culvert. Okay, so you're installing stone too. So I don't think they want to put additional stone necessarily.
That's 18-inch pipe. That's 18 feet, yeah. So it's not
Well,
going
they
into
told
the
me
culvert.
18, and I said, and the other day I said, so what is it? So they said 12.
Yeah.
Is that big
Yeah.
enough for? I mean, I've seen the aerial shots. Is 12 big enough?
You know, it's better than they're giving it to us, it's better than what we have. Right now, we have nothing.
Right.
And we don't, it's stuff actually we need to do, the water needs to look at. It's just,
Yeah, it's
It
a
needs
drain,
to
it's
go.
not so much stream or perennial stream or anything, it's,
it's just, it'll, even if it just kind of slowly goes,
It has a way to get out.
yeah. And I'm also afraid the continuous, you know, we just have to.
So that's at the ends, right, they have riprap, coming out of the ends, right? So also on both ends to allow easy access. Right, they don't say anything about it, do they, or do they?
So
Just below road
your
surface
crew
to
is
accommodate pipe
installing
diameter.
it?
Excuse me?
Your crew, your team?
I've approved to install it,
Yeah.
so you said, by Mass Wildlife.
Oh, Mass Wildlife is installing it.
No, they are installing, Mass
Right, that's
Wildlife
what-
has agreed to it, but are supplying them with the
Right.
materials.
They said they would give it to us if
Right, and I'm wondering, is there,
And they
is
will.
there, is
Like
it possible to
necessary
draw
specs or something?
a spec so that everybody's on the same page as how it's gonna get installed? Because that might be easier.
That's
I
true.
mean, a simple drawing
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
a circle and
Okay.
has the riprap and
The
has
topsoil.
has the, you know, the number of inches, and that way everyone can see it and everyone agrees, and then it gets put in the file, and so if somebody
Okay.
has any questions.
And I agree, just I guess for transparency purposes, in my conversation with Mass Wildlife, that's what I was told, was that it's on Maria to go through the process, to get all the approval from all the
Necessary,
bodies, but that before they gave her, correct me if I'm wrong, please, before they donated this and gave the approval, they were looking for some type of site engineer drawings as to how it was gonna be installed, so that once it was installed, they could agree that it was done correctly. Is that true? And if so, is it possible for us to see some, right, to Liz's point, is it possible for us to see something as far as drawings so that we can all be on the same page?
And just to backtrack off that,
Sure.
and, I think, I guess I'm looking at, are you talking about like a survey plan done, or are you talking about just spec specific, so say this is 18, this is 2 inches above, this is the riprap, this is.
I don't know, I mean, if it was
Okay.
any
I
other
was
project.
just- I'm just
No, not
trying
that I
to
don't know. If it was
clarify.
any other project, we would look at it and say, do the grades work?
Correct.
Do they not work, right? Is there erosion control? How are you gonna control sediment going through here, right? Those are the typical performance specifications that we can look at and make a decision on. And it's a great photograph, but it doesn't answer any of the typical questions that we have.
Do you think a topo would do that?
No, a standard spec has the way that it's gonna be installed. However, I don't think it needs to be engineered, but,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say,
because
yeah.
that also takes a lot of time, and I
Yeah.
don't
No,
know,
I would
you
think
know.
I think this is an interesting project because
Yeah.
they're actually proposing to do work on property they don't own, right?
Okay.
This is.
And this one's maybe for your
This is-
protection.
This is conservation land. This is-
Also.
This is, correct me if I'm wrong, you'll be digging and installing this, and it's a different town as well. So I think we want to make sure that once the project starts, everyone is under the same sort of
Right. That makes sense.
agreement as to what the final product looks like.
And so
That
my
doesn't-
point about, for your protection is if, let's say it doesn't get installed, like, let's say that the amount on top isn't right and the cart hits it and there's a problem, I hate thinking of the worst case scenarios, but it could be, you know, could be
Right.
trouble.
Right.
And so if you have a spec, and there are standard specs for how these are installed, you know, a picture, you know, I think we could accept a hand-drawn one that says, this is how we're gonna do it.
Yeah, is there an inlet to control erosion, right? Because correct me if I'm wrong, this whole area gets underwater, so there's going to be a lot of new sediment that's introduced seasonally, correct? So even if there's 6 inches of headspace within this culvert, Maria, it could be filled. When,
Yeah.
and then how does that, so how do you protect against that? We just need to understand it.
I think I need to, so, I need to,
Yeah. It's
Okay, I've been like that all day.
That explains it all.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I still get up at 3:30
Oh, I
because
can
I
imagine.
still get up because Sometimes I get emotional on these things,
Yeah.
I really, really do.
Yep.
And,
Just want it done.
So,
well,
Just
no,
put the
it's
water
just that,
out.
it's just that this whole process, first we went to Lancaster and it wasn't Lancaster. And now we're up against time. And it's not gonna happen this year. Because we're up now against time. And we couldn't do anything because hunting season, so they said, okay. I said, okay. So I was trying to kind of do this just in case hunting season, but that has nothing to do with what you're requesting. And I have to get an expert, and that does these things. Fish and Wildlife, actually, they do this. They do it all the time. But they don't want to get involved with. They don't want to get involved with this or the requirements or anything else, and that is why.
so although, and I understand them not wanting to get involved with the process because they're not, like I'm looking at Ducharme and Dillis, they're not that type of a business, I'll
Right.
say.
They're a government.
They're a government,
And it's
or federal organization, federal
State.
Their state agency.
state agency. I should know this. But I maybe call the individual who you spoke to and say, can you just do up a drawing
Yeah, I think we
and have them submit that, have their name on it,
can.
and just, I mean, not have them submit it, but have them give it to you with that mark on it saying, this is from Fisheries and Wildlife, because that's not telling them they have to be here at the meeting, that they're really necessarily involved. That's just putting your check on it, that they saw it, they approved it, and then that's saying to us, okay, that, you know what, they approved
Fish and
it,
Wildlife's happy with
they
this,
monitor
yeah,
that
yeah.
area, that's state land.
Correct.
And if they're okay with it, I certainly think and would advise the committee that we would be okay with it.
The design, you mean?
The design and
There are
then
standard
continuing the
specs
project.
that
Yeah.
come with these products.
Right.
And so, could you send me the spec? Usually there's one, and
Yeah.
that way you'll know exactly, because if it collapses, let's say a truck goes over it, and because, you were just getting it in and it was up too high and then it collapsed and, there's all kinds of things could happen.
So what you're saying is the specs we can get, I'm sure they do this, so they get the specs from them.
I would think the manufacturer of the pipe would have a certain,
Right.
They might even have suggested, how to put it in, how deep
Yeah.
it needs to be.
Yeah. I think that's a piece of it. I think the other piece of it is, from a grading standpoint, and I hate to get really basic here, but if this is the existing driveway, I think what we don't want to have here is half of this culvert to be sticking out exposed. Right, so if this needs to be at an elevation that actually allows it to function correctly, then I think what we all want, at least me personally, would like to understand is, can this area be regraded to encapsulate the top so that all of this can renaturalize? And then what does that actually look like versus just installing a culvert and then leaving it exposed to the ground? So if there's
Right.
fill that's necessary, that's where that's sort of the elevation piece of it comes from. And then how much fill is required, and then how wide of an area left and right of the culvert do you need to go to grade it correctly so that it can naturalize and function and be passable with trucks and people and ATVs and stuff.
And I 100% with you on that. And that is very important in terms of having that functional access road to emergency vehicles or the state agency itself.
Or people.
Or
Right,
people.
because if it's
hunting.
wet, somebody trips, and then it's like, you're solving problems, but you're also creating problems downstream.
Right, but again, and I reiterate it, I think going to the agency themselves, because they're obviously willing to work with you, and understanding they're not the ones presenting this project, they're not the ones installing the project, but simply having, yes, it's okay,
Yeah.
it's gonna make it a whole lot easier, and if they give you specs, that's we know, yeah.
And we'll do what they,
So that's
we'll do
not-
what they say.
Right, and that's not hiring a professional, that's simply saying, you know, this is what the commission was concerned with, and aside from what you have, it's potential grading, but I don't know without knowing that. And then the couple inches of topsoil on top, and then simply having them draw it out and say, okay, this is to spec, this is what you need to do. And then bring that back to us, so we have it on file. And like Liz was saying, that's a safety for you as well, because if there is a future problem, they can also say, well, you know, we worked on this with you, and maybe you can fix it together again. But at least then that's noted, and it says, we did this to spec, we know it was working, maybe something happened down the line, but it worked and it was fixed.
Okay, so to your point, I think I am definitely gonna check the elevation, because I'm a tinkerer by nature. I'm gonna check and to see exactly, and I'll be able to tell you I'll check, I'll meet with Michael from Fish and Wildlife, and because I've known him. I mean, we've been talking for a while. And then get his opinion, draw it out, and also get somebody's, I mean, the pipe, I like your idea of the pipe. I really know.
Manufacturer should be able to.
You know, and then to come back and say, yes, it's gonna go this far down because of the elevation of the road is up. We have to vary it this far to go along with the elevation from the field, and then we'll put, you know, whatever's in there.
X inches of topsoil.
X inches of, you know, topsoil, because it needs to be secured, you know, it needs to be secure, because if you put, you know, you don't want to create mud, but you want to create.
I agree, when the area floods and it becomes full of water and things start to shift around, you understand.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've lived it for 30 years, so I know. We don't want we just want to live with it. And then that top piece is a little bit easier. Actually, it's going to be nicer for Fish and Wildlife, because we're going to have basically we're putting, it's already.
They're filling the small. Yeah.
Then they'll be able to bring that higher, because now the water can go right under, because right now what they're trying to do is
pack it in.
You just can't do it. You need one of those to kind of let the water go through, so that you can pack it in. So I can talk to Mike.
Okay, great. So, I mean, you can call me and let me know when you get to speak to them, because I don't know how busy they are, what their schedule is. But I do know our next meeting is January 5th, so I can put you on that now, and if for some reason you don't get a chance to speak with him.
Oh, no, him and I are on an email.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good, yeah.
I'm just saying though, just shoot me an email and say
Pictures
the
of
next
it.
meeting.
And Michael's local too, so if there is a site
He's-
visit
he's
and you're
good.
gonna walk the site and we're available to go out and meet with you and Michael and talk it over, at least for me personally, I would be interested just to help you move this along.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Because we're now into, and now we're gonna have a frost, so the ground will be frozen by the end of so the week after our next meeting, I won't be able to do the project,
Okay.
because it'll be frozen. And, I mean, it's a good process, I'm happy but we'll have to go through another flood season, and then we'll have to, because we can't do anything, and we have a window. The window
Is there a
is,
spring window that they don't have on our?
no, the window is October, we have the October, and then hunting season comes, and then we can't do anything,
Yeah.
and then you run like heck to make sure that you get before frost. That doesn't mean, if we have a very nice.
We might have one like last year.
Yes, if we have one like
Like
this,
like Christmas.
it's not, it's still, you know,
Right.
we'll still be able to, probably on the corner, I could probably install it, because that, it's riprap right now anyway.
Right.
But, we'll see. So I definitely will talk to Michael, I'll do the email, I'll keep you continuous emails and seeing, and I'll get a better plan on, and I'll be able to, by the next meeting, we'll be able to have what am I gonna do, and then we'll all get together at the flats and we'll all
Start digging them out, yeah.
No, it's just, so Sangeeta will be explaining to the other farmers, the process that farmers have to go through in order to get, because I know we're exempt.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm here for. I mean, I'm here to actually, to peel the onion, okay, on the process. Because he's younger than I am.
Mhm.
I'm hoping to, and then I've got 250 other people just like him, that are learning this process and getting used to. The thing is, to get used to be at this table, it's really, sometimes it's intimidating, so.
Sometimes it's very on the other side. But it is definitely,
Any questions?
Yes, but too many questions.
Oh,
so
yeah,
let's go.
My question is.
Go ahead.
Actually, I was wondering, because I didn't think about it, why are we in Bolton and that is in Lancaster?
Yeah.
And that confused me.
So,
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, here's
you
the,
missed our first meeting when we were in Lancaster until 10 o'clock.
so here's the town line. This is actually, so this is all the farm is basically in Lancaster. There's the town line. And this is the part, so this is the stream Bolton Flats, where you're trying to cross is in this little part right here, which is in Bolton.
Our
little
first
sliver.
meeting in Lancaster, the one that you missed, so I didn't realize, and one of the members said.
That's it, yeah, it's that one little sliver, right.
So one of the members said, "Oh, you're in Bolton," and I'm like, I've owned this for 30 years, I'm like,
I'm where?
no, because I really hadn't looked at this red line, and it was like, and because it's just such a.
Well, I always assumed I always assumed the end of the farm was the end of Lancaster.
Right, that's what I thought. I thought it was
When I started
Bradley.
Bolton, I figured that was it, right? But no, I guess not,
No,
yeah.
it's that piece, and then I'm like, oh. And then we stayed, the same thing happened at our first meeting in Lancaster that happened tonight. Someone, there was an issue. And we stayed there till 9:30, until we first heard.
Oh.
And then, but I had a crew, all of the Hmong came.
I lived
That's right, you were there.
Smart guy.
That's right, you were there. You left early, then you didn't find out that it was, he didn't find out that it was, at the end of the meeting, they said, oh, you have to go to Bolton. And then we started the whole process again.
Right.
So it's.
can we put them on first?
Yes, yep. And to be honest, didn't know it was gonna take that long, that's why I said, oh, it's gonna be, and I
Yeah,
told you, I
yeah,
said,
yeah.
it's gonna be quick.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I should have known, I should have thought ahead.
Do you have another question?
We have plenty of these.
Great.
Actually, we have these at the
What do
office.
you grow there? In that little corn?
On all these?
No, in that little corner by the golf
On the
course.
actual Bolton.
Well, it's, because there's no
Nothing.
line on the, there's no
But
line.
what do you actually grow?
It's
Water
corn,
and
yeah,
grass.
yeah, corn, grass, yeah. But this right here,
Yeah, I've seen that.
yeah. It's amazing how it, it's changed over the years. Really, really, really amazing.
Maria, where do the products end up? Do they stay fairly local, or are they moved around? So,
We go to over 40 farmers markets.
all
We
in
do-
Massachusetts?
All in Massachusetts. We do, well, tell them where you're going to sell your stuff.
Lawrence,
Lawrence Farmers Market.
Okay.
and Mr. Fitchburg.
Somerville.
Somerville.
Yeah, my mother lives in Somerville, and sometimes she'll buy things for me I'll pick them up in something.
Well, then bring them back.
Oh my goodness, 2,000
tell her.
miles
Don't tell her.
traveling.
Yes, Boo goes to summer, but
Oh.
Yeah, never let her know that.
Yeah.
Boo, actually, the farmer that was here last week, he goes to Davis Square,
Yeah,
and
Davis
then
Square.
Boo goes to Union Square. Let me see. Then they go to Lexington, Belmont, Brookline. They also go to Dorchester. A lot of our crops this year went to Mattapan. We found a
Farmers
new,
market?
no, actually tropical. We did a wholesale, right? We have a cooperative. So the wholesale goes to, we go to the tropical market in Mattapan. They got a nice, they finally, Mattapan, They got a, yeah, I know, but they got a nice grocery, high-end.
They need.
They really, really,
That's it.
they needed one that, and so anyway, huge success with Lalu, which he grew in his high tunnel. Lalu? Lalu. Very, very popular with Haitians.
Alalu. No, Alalu? Alalu. It's a green.
Egyptians. Yes, it is.
I know it is.
So you
I
know,
know it is.
extremely popular. Oh my goodness. So our farmers have been growing, grew that. Let me see. We have mashishi, we have tayoba. We have over 45 different crops. Water spinach, pea tendrils,
Wow.
Lots of, we go to Harvard,
Harvard.
Yeah.
right here, in
Yeah.
Harvard. Our farm is extremely popular. They're the community, they support the farmers,
Acton.
Oh, and Acton too.
Acton, yeah.
Yeah, there's 40, so it's really,
It's great.
you get addicted to doing this kind of stuff. But I'm running out of land. And that's honest, because the farmers want to expand. You tell them you need more land, and so they want to expand this way. We just started, so we started right, so when the project started, it was only right here, a little, let me see where I'm at. Yeah, okay. It was just a few acres that started right here, and then it just kept going. And then all of a sudden, now the farmers are continuous, can I expand? I'm like, the only reason to expand is, but this, right now, we're right here anyway,
Yeah.
because we had the corn.
Yeah,
The
we
corn
were calling
plots.
it right.
Right, we're right here, the corn plots.
Landing like
You get a little bit more, a little more room, yeah.
Yeah.
And we do corn, but not regular corn. It's white corn. And all of the farmers we plant white corn, non-GMO. And we tell farmers they can't plant sweet corn around us because it cross-pollinates.
Right.
And so,
What's his name, Schweitzer? What was his name? Big court case, and his corn got cross-contaminated.
yeah, and
Yeah. That was Monsanto.
Yeah, it was.
yeah, and so that's why we actually, this year, we actually acquired our own non-GMO seed. So that way, because farmers, it's extremely popular. We're the only people that eat sweet corn, Everybody else does it. And I actually, so I say we because I'm doing this. Because I was brought up with corn, and I still like the corn that we grow, not the sweet corn.
Yeah.
I'll eat it, but because it's almost,
You go with white,
it's like,
non-GMO,
yeah,
it's just white corn, not
white
the
corn,
sweet
not
corn you're
sweet.
talking about, yellow,
No,
white.
not sweet.
Yeah.
This is not sweet corn. This is what we call silage corn. If you were to taste it, but if you had to eat it, because you mill it, you make all kinds of
Mhm.
you make all
Big
kinds of
process, yeah.
process.
Low Ritz corn.
Right.
Right.
It's like Ritz corn.
Ritz corn.
Ritz corn. Yeah. But anyway, okay. So I.
Very interesting.
Well, if
Oh,
you
it is,
ever
it is.
go on the website, go on our website, let me see if I have a card. Because I'm here as Maria Morera, the farmer, because I just happened to, but I literally, I don't have a business card, sorry.
What's the website, Marie? Do you know what about it?
Worldfarmers.org, www.worldfarmers.org.
Yep.
This year, we worked with, anybody that has kids in Neshoba?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, we, one of the interns, we worked with a high school, because it's part of a project. And the kids, they had Mr. Kastner, Tim Kastner, the history teacher, is part of our project. We actually worked, we partnered with Neshoba Regional High School. They actually wanted to do similar things. I'm like, I think we need the kids need to learn about farming early on, number one. Number two, we're in the bottom, and when we look up, we have gorgeous homes in Bolton. And everybody goes to school, and they pass us. And we had a history, a couple of years, it's about like 5-10 years ago, that some yelling of who we were and how we looked by passing cars, like go back. And so also I think too, we need advocates. Farmers need advocates, and we start with a high school. Where does your food come from? And the kids are so excited. They did a presentation at the high school, and they made a video.
That's great.
Yeah, they brought a drone.
Oh, wow.
I took pictures.
Oh my God, it was so,
Exactly.
well, we're gonna put it on our website soon, we just have to finish it up. But one of the kids,
See a drone.
I know,
It was scary at first.
Yeah. Kids toys.
and he was only 15.
Yeah, kids toys.
No, but he's,
Yeah, and they could fly, no
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
I'd crash it
Do you
within
know
30
the food
seconds, yeah.
project in
Yes.
Lincoln?
Yes.
I used to work for the food project.
you did?
Yeah, and I'm just thinking
How
about
long
it,
ago?
Will Allen
I used to,
was talking about you at somewhere I was, so that's, I knew there was a
oh
connection.
my God, I used to work with Alana. Well, he used to come up here, actually do the Burma composting. We used to do Burma composter trainings
So with the
Nice.
worms.
with the worms, we
I
actually
love
did that.
I know. I
Yeah.
have a video.
I think it's awesome.
of vermicomposting.
Yeah, we
if
did,
you wanna
and I
see
used
it.
to go down and, we used to change, because none of us had money, so he used to come up and do the vermicomposting trainings, and I used to go to Milwaukee and do the marketing, because I kind of like the marketing.
Great.
So just, yeah.
Fair trade-off, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're both working and doing this
And he
type
has a
of.
lot of teams, and the food project has teams, so if you
Yes.
ever really want to get deeper into the project, they're a great resource to
Yeah.
help with those
Yeah.
programs, teams.
And then the urban ag, there's a lot of urban ag also going.
Yeah, they have teens and they have young adults, and there's a whole,
It's
there's a lot of people coming into farming.
lots.
Yeah,
And Massachusetts is like the breeding ground for all of this
Yeah.
stuff. The thinking, it really is,
Yeah.
all of the farmers market stuff
yeah.
and now innovation, and all of this innovative stuff, we just got a grant from MDR to buy refrigeration for the park, and I'm so excited. We're finally gonna keep our veggies, we can actually harvest at night and sell, in the morning.
Right, and actually have inventory to sell.
Instead of getting up at 5 o'clock and not making it to market on time.
Spraying with water.
That was.
I ran a farmer's market one summer.
Oh, you did? You spray, we still spray water. It's just, but it's, well, if you guys out of this, if you want a tour, and we do, go on our website, we do get tours to anybody that wants them. We also do, once a year, we do a symposium. We literally we put it out and we say, the farm tours today, anybody can go and look and find out about the project, find out about the vegetables, and, yeah, we.
I'll bring my kids to shit, that's
Yeah.
fantastic, I love breaking
Yeah.
stuff like that, that's
Yeah,
great.
And if there's anything that you're interested in, and, with the vegetables, because
You
we
sell
do.
shares in that? No, you don't do that?
We did last year, but we couldn't, it just takes staff.
Hmm.
It takes,
Good
point.
we don't have enough people.
No?
I don't have enough people to,
To harvest and,
oh, no,
So,
no,
run it.
put a
I
few
have that.
others, yeah, take
So
the money,
run it.
yeah.
I have that.
So
What I
the
don't
price
have
will
is
pick up.
enough I don't have enough staff to go out and get shares, get people to buy them and then deliver them. You know, if I could get somebody to kind of organize that process, farmers can, they have plenty of veggies. At some point, we have an overabundance of veggies in
Oh my
our
God, don't say
market.
that. I can't. Unless it's like we want
Well, we try to, you know, we don't do any outreach. We have never done it for 30 years. We don't go out and say, hey, we have this and we can provide X, Y, and Z. Never. Every farmer has come by word of mouth. They hear Cindy would tell somebody else, that tells somebody else, that tells somebody else. Because we don't have a set program that from year to year, you know, some years we just don't have any money, you know. And so when we do have money, we really try to put the you know, the farmers to do things for the farmers, get them high tunnels or, you know. But when we don't, so you can't promise people, it's all of them are refugees and immigrants, all of them. Every single one of the farmers, so you can't be making promises to things you can't. Yeah, if we don't have a program and you know, so, but promise, people come in, but anytime well, and now it will be, this process is great, and it's gonna be great, it's gonna be approved hopefully by next fall. Because we can't work in the spring either. You can't work in the spring, because it'll be too wet.
Right.
You're swimming down there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll swim. We'll swim.
So index.
And also, you can't, because you can't work the soil, you know, by the time, because we'll be too busy. Once we can work the farm,
You work the farm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so it's time.
well, we have to work the farm, and then if we work the farm, that means that the water took that long. Here's the issue. If the water doesn't go naturally, it takes so long, but by the time we get to it, it's
Season, so.
exactly.
Well, I think there's another commission member, she's a farmer here in town, and you'll only see her during the winter. Like during spring, summer, that's, like she can't come to meetings, like she's
Yeah, 'cause you have noise,
farming, yeah.
farming.
During the winter, we see her, and that's, so we get it.
All right, I won't keep you, well.
No, thank you for sharing. Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck with everything.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys.
And we'll be in touch, very good. I'll email.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Contact us, one from Bunny, like, oh,
I don't want to collect that,
Getting
so
out of the
I just started like,
twitching. Get a problem with
Oh,
farms.
I'm not
You
crying.
got an issue with farms. Start twitching.
This process along. I didn't mean to add
maybe.
to it, but it's really for their safety to make sure that that is installed properly, not just their safety.
Yeah,
But it's for everybody's safety,
Well,
because if you
it's-
drive over it and it collapses and,
It's precedent also as well. too.
Right,
Whereas I
right.
would love to, I mean, I think it's great what they do. When I walked out there, it made sense to a certain extent where they were putting the culverts. So I wasn't sure which way water would flow through.
Go both ways, it looks like.
That's what it would look like, but I don't know that she might, I mean, I
And then
think
the road
it's
doesn't
over
look
time.
like it was ever really thought of.
But,
They just did it and just kept plowing.
It looks
putting
like it's
stuff
a
in,
cart
stuff
path
on,
that they just
stuff
kind
on.
of keep maintaining. But, yeah, but having some sort of plan, at least finalized of like, this is how it will go in, it just makes sense, because it's hard to say for one person and ask others.
No question. When she
Yeah.
said stabilized, you know, Michael from Fish and Wildlife said the entire area gets underwater. So if you're going to do an infrastructure project like this, it does need to be stabilized, or that
Yeah, it's
culvert
gonna
will
wash
be
out, yeah.
floating down, right, the river.
Right.
So, you know, how
Right.
do you encapsulate it? How do you make sure that it stays there
And-
after it
and
does
the-
its job? And
and the
they
spec-
just need to think about that.
the spec will be under normal conditions, not under those conditions. That's another thing to think about.
Yeah, but Mass Wildlife would know that.
Yeah.
Right? I agree with
We
you.
hope so.
Yeah.
We hope.
Yeah. Okay, in that case, I'm gonna make a motion that we continue the public hearing for 7 Bridges Road, Maria Marrera, to our next meeting, January 5th, 2017, at a time to be determined.
I second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
So continued. Trying to look what else we had. Did you want to give an update now on the trail committee?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Now that we're on TV, I can give it just quick. So I wanted to show the commission, local photographer, Stephen Erat had donated his time and his energy and put together this great rustic picture of some of the things that you might take on a walk in the woods with you. And he included the current trail guide and the current cell phone app that's available, and even the Bolton Trails Committee button. He is a big friend of conservation. He's a generous guy and very talented.
For as well.
Yep, and I'm very thankful to have him in town and have him involved, and thankful that he was willing to share his talents with us. And we actually included this photograph in the very first page of the trail guide for 2017. And Steve is aware of that, and he's been really great to work with. Yep.
He did a fantastic job.
It's a great
Yep.
photograph. Yeah, really talented guy. So thank you to Steve.
Yeah, no, thank you. Steve?
What was the last name?
Erat.
That's right, it's right at the bottom.
Oh, I see.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna get back to it.
I know, right?
Yeah, I want to keep it.
I need to get my new edition. Was there anything else? I think we actually hit
Open
everything.
space, we met today.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So the open space, we met today, I think 7 of us met. I think the primary topic was the survey. There was, we went through the survey, discussed various points. It will be distributed via the census, so there'll be a one-pager. Emily, Betsy, and Kenny really have pulled it together, been working really hard on it. We also discussed other aspects of it, which I probably don't need to get into too much detail on, but it's definitely moving forward. 3 of us, 4 of us are gaining GIS experience to add to that. Jeff was there today. We welcomed him today. That was good, and it's moving forward. The notes will be out by tomorrow, and it's all good.
And I unfortunately was not there today because I went with Gary to our GIS seminar.
Oh, cool.
But actually some of the applications that you can tie into our software we already have with ArcMap is very applicable for once we have the OSRP completed. As I was telling Liz, I think it's going to be a very user-friendly, accessible application that we can have online for the public to use. So hopefully next year or 2 following the completion of OSRP, we'll be able to.
Really access
You're
it.
right.
Oh, that's
Right.
really nice.
Because that, I think, was one of our goals for the OSRP, is for have it be more user-friendly, more interactive, whether it be in both physical and electrical form.
That's great.
So it's good. And then Kathy, who was here with us for a couple months, volunteered her time to say if we need any help, so we might send her.
That's
So
really
it's all moving along.
Mhm.
And I think we decided that Stowe's model was really easy to use, and that's what we're gonna use as a template. That's the
Mhm.
other thing we discovered, so we're gonna keep it simple. It's not exactly simple,
Right,
but
right. Simpler.
simpler.
It's like, yeah, a good model that works. So.
Yes.
Quickly, site visit for 12 Quill Run, pool installation. We asked that there be we asked that there be a survey of the property or just a delineation in the spring, because there was another resource area that wasn't delineated properly. The homeowner took it upon themselves to say, I'm just gonna go with Brandon from Ducharme and Dillis. He went on the property, did in fact identify and find the resource area that was closer to the project area that's proposed, so we can make a better judgment on impact.
Yes.
So that site visit would be Wednesday, December 14th at 1 p.m. And I know that's hard for everyone, so if everyone would like to be there, I can give Brandon a call and reschedule to Thursday, Tuesday.
What's the 14th? This
The
is
14th is a Wednesday.
Next
Wednesday.
Wednesday at,
It was a date and time he had suggested.
Right.
so I figured
Yeah.
I'd
Right, right.
buy it.
at 1 o'clock, you said?
Yep.
I might have to be able to make that. I might be a few minutes late, but
I think I can make
Okay.
would it be
And,
possible to throw that into an email if you think of it tomorrow?
yeah,
that.
Yes.
but is
or what?
that,
I can't make it.
Okay.
And then I'm out, yeah, I'm not able to.
okay. Okay. And then also, I mean, I'd like it before the snow is, but maybe it'd be more beneficial to do it in spring. But the Robert Kiley from Houghton Farm also asked about the release of the wetland replication area.
Yeah.
So I'm comfortable going and taking a look, but, I mean, that's sort of open for discussion in terms of a site visit time. There wasn't any proposed or
Yeah.
scheduled date, so if we want to work on a date or time for that.
In the past, we've gone on your recommendation or the admin's recommendation
Okay.
with Carol, especially because a lot of these will pop up and they'll usually be during the day when you're working and we're working elsewhere.
Right.
Usually on something like that, we'll trust, like, we'll just, when do you see, what were your questions?
Okay.
But throwing out dates sometimes is not a bad thing, especially some of the
Okay.
bigger projects. But I think oftentimes many of us won't be able to make it.
Okay.
But I think
can
we're all
see-
very comfortable with you going
Yeah,
and
okay.
just
And
And
reporting
when you
back.
go on those, if you just sent an email, if you think of it,
Yeah.
tomorrow I'm going such a place, and
Okay.
if anybody wants to, because there are some great learning opportunities as
Yeah,
well
that's-
as,
For sure.
so.
Okay, and then, I mean, I'm going to reach out to Robert Kiley, or in this case, the representative from Ducharme Dillis, and see if there's a specific day that works for them, so they can sort of explain everything. Because you can do it visually, but that sort of assists, obviously. And then I can send out an email and say proposed dates for the wetland replication inspection.
Cool.
Okay. I think that's it.
Any other pressing, anything new? Christmas carols?
We actually have a Conservation Commission banner on video.
I'll forget
That's exciting.
Ah, let's see.
Wow. It's just production.
Get up in the world.
Oh, wait, there was one thing.
Yes.
Did you guys see the email from MACC about asking conservation commissions to consider signing on to a letter to the governor about the pipeline and?
I saw
that. Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw that, but I didn't see
it was
where
just
you,
kind of-
where were you supposed to sign or
No, I didn't
apply?
either, but like, we were at the front line